I'm about to prove that what belongs to others is always better. I cast aside a guaranteed S-rank talent just to choose this. The ability to copy every single day. My classmates are already laughing at my choice, mocking me for being such a great friend to them. They think I'm a total fool. I just smile back, letting out a dry laugh. Let them look down on me. I'll just wait until I've gathered my strength. Then I'll show them something that'll blind them with regret. I should thank them, really, because my copying ability isn't just some basic talent. It's a full-blown system. I can directly copy the talent of any opponent within my range. 3 meters is all I need. Suddenly, an unprecedented commotion erupts in the center of the plaza. My God, SSS rank. It's an SSS rank talent. The entire crowd boils over in an instant. Even the principal is trembling with excitement as he rushes forward. I stare at the platform and see the one who awakened it. Listen. The usually expressionless Listen is soaking in the glory of his new life. He's drowning in more praise from the teachers and students than even Zahoshin ever got. SSS rank, a once-in-a-generation genius among 10,000, a future legend of the martial arts world. I change my target immediately. Forget S rank, I need to go for the absolute peak. I force my way through the crowd and approach Listen with a flattering smile. I'm your biggest fan. Please, give me your autograph. Floating on cloud 9 from the worship, he carelessly grabs my paper and pen. In that exact moment, I successfully make my move. I'm within his 3-meter range. Ding. SSS rank talent detected. 100x speed body. Copying now. Copy successful. Congratulations to the host for obtaining SSS rank talent. With the 100x speed body, my cultivation speed just increased 100-fold. My heart beats wildly. 100 times faster is simply heaven-defying. I take the signature from his hand. I suppress my excitement and turn around. I need to slip away before anyone notices. But then, everything changes. A bone-chilling, tearing sound erupts behind me, and hot liquid splashes across my back. I spin around to see Listen, the SSS rank genius who was just standing there. The man who looked arrogant and invincible only seconds ago. His head is gone, and a fountain of blood is spraying where he once stood. Blood gushes out like a fountain. A demon. There is actually a demon here. It was lurking among the students, and now the plaza has descended into pure chaos. I feel the terror crawling up my spine. I stare at the tragic scene, unable to believe the SSS rank genius is dead. Just like that, he's gone. All that arrogance vanished in a second. An explosive roar thunders through the air as the principal makes his move. A massive, crushing pressure instantly covers the entire arena. I feel like a giant mountain is pressing down on my shoulders. That demon, the thing that just slaughtered a man, is pinned down. It lets out a miserable, piercing shriek. The authorities close in, treating the creature as a high-level threat. The principal unleashes his raw power, moving faster than the eye can follow. Before I can even blink, the monster is engulfed in a searing light. It dissolves into nothing more than a puddle of red stains. The crisis is over, but my back is soaked in cold sweat. This world is far too dangerous, even for an SSS rank genius. I need to use this stolen talent to get stronger before I'm the one who disappears. I retreat to my rundown house in the slums of the city district. I impatiently open my status panel to see my new power. Attributes: Host, Wang Yu. Talent: Silver Sacred Body, S rank Mirror. Body Fracture Stage 1. Energy Value: 2. The limit for a normal person is 10. Looking at that pathetic energy value, I immediately feel a sense of desperation. I push the feeling aside and begin the basic body fracture technique. It's the one taught at school, right at the start, and I almost scream with pleasure. That stinging, obstructed sensation I used to feel while practicing? Completely gone. The surrounding energy rushes into my pores like crazy. This is the joy of 100-fold speed. Impure substances are quickly purged from my body as my energy reserves deplete. I'm moving at a terrifying pace, and barely 4 hours later, I feel a breakthrough. Congratulations to the host for advancing to Body Fracture Stage 2. I open my eyes, feeling the abundant power surging through me. My body feels incredible. The bottleneck that takes others half a year to overcome? I just shattered it. 4 hours was all it took. I walk toward the river to test myself. I stand before the strength testing machine. I throw a punch with every ounce of my strength. 300 kilograms. My power increased by 50 kilograms in one go. Brother, you're back. A crisp, clear voice interrupts my thoughts. It's my younger sister, Wang Xin. She opens the door, wearing a worn-out uniform from the 3rd high school. Her face is delicate and beautiful, but she looks pale and malnourished. Brother, she says softly. She must have heard about the SSS rank genius at my school. News about the demon attack and the casualties is already trending everywhere. Wang Xin looks at me, her eyes filled with deep worry. Looking into her sensible, caring eyes makes my heart ache. We're stuck living in these slums where demons could invade at any moment. It's a constant shadow hanging over us. I pat her head and say, "Don't worry, I've awakened an incredible talent." I promise her that after next month's exam, I'll move us to the safe zone downtown. "I believe you, brother," she says with a small smile. She reaches out and squeezes my hand. It's already June. She nods firmly, and we sit down together to eat. In the days that follow, everything changes. I turn into a total cultivation maniac, fueled by my SSS rank talent. My strength begins to skyrocket like a literal rocket ship. 3 days later. Ugh, the month of May. The strength testing machine lets out an overwhelmed groan. 800 kilograms, the weight of 4 massive slabs of meat. I've achieved body refinement, and I didn't stop there. I even mastered the falling cloud palm, the hardest swan grade technique at school. With my comprehension multiplied by 100, I reached perfection instantly. Now, I have the power to take on a 5th stage body refinement expert. Just as I'm soaking in this rush of power, bam, my rickety wooden door is kicked wide open. Get out here, Wang Yu. It's time to pay your protection fee. An arrogant, overbearing voice barks from outside, and my eyes turn cold. It's Zhang Lin, the local thug who rules this area. Back when I was weak, he spent his days harassing and extorting me. I slowly stand up, my presence radiating a new kind of pressure. Zhang Lin flinches, his face turning red with sudden embarrassment and rage. Kid, do you not speak human? I said pay up. This is the slums. Crushing you is like stepping on an ant. The old me would have swallowed my pride and handed over the cash. But now, I don't even bother wasting my breath on him. I simply raise my fist and throw a brutal, direct punch. He didn't even have time to react. Boom, my fist connects with a dull, heavy thud. Zhang Lin is sent flying backward like a rag doll. He slams into the perimeter wall with a bone-shaking crash. Dust clouds rise as he slumps against the bricks, gasping for air. He lies there trembling, blood leaking from his lip, staring at me with pure terror. Who told you I was still at the 1st stage? I ask calmly. The surrounding crowd erupts in a frenzy of whispers and gasps. That's the Wang family kid. He just leveled a 4th stage expert with 1 hit. They look at me like they're seeing a monster for the first time. The neighbors stare, their eyes wide with shock and newfound respect. It's as if they've never truly seen the person standing right in front of them. You're going to pay for this. Zhang Lin grinds out through clenched teeth. His voice is thick with humiliation. Being trashed by a nobody is a death sentence for his reputation. I think you're confused about who's in charge here, I sneer. I walk toward him slowly, my shadow looming over his broken form. A cold, sinking feeling of dread washes over Zhang Lin's heart. How much is your life worth to you? I look down at him with a faint, sharp smile. This is the slums. Nobody would care if you just disappeared today. I throw his own words back at him, watching his face go pale as he realizes the tables have turned. Just a moment ago, he was the hunter, but luck changes fast. Now it's his turn to tremble, and Zhang Lin's body won't stop shaking. He realizes I'm bold enough to actually follow through on my intentions. My boss is the leader of the Black Wind Gang. Black Wolf, he screams. If you dare touch me, he'll never let you live. He's desperate, pulling out his last card to save his skin. Black Wolf is a 9th level body-tempered expert, a step away from being a limit martial warrior. To anyone else in these slums, he's a god, but to me, he's just another obstacle. I'm already at the 4th level of body tempering myself. Combined with my perfect level falling cloud palm, I have nothing to fear. Even if Black Wolf showed up in person right now, he'd have to sweat to beat me. And in a few days, I'll be far beyond the 4th level anyway. I look at him, my eyes turning ice cold, and say, since you're so eager to die, I'll oblige. I prepare the falling cloud palm, a technique now incomparable in my hands. I don't hold back a single ounce of strength. I unleash the full power of the perfect level falling cloud palm directly at him. A terrifying, howling wind erupts from my strike. A faint, ethereal image manifests in the air before me. It carries a crushing force that feels like it could flatten anything in its path. The strike connects squarely with Zhang Lin, ending his threats once and for all. Nice work, Wang Yu, the crowd mutters. That scum deserved it. They can't believe I've actually mastered the falling cloud palm to the perfect level. Cheers erupt from the surrounding alleys, where death is just a daily occurrence. Instead of fear, the onlookers are paralyzed by the sheer power I just displayed. I'm only 16, yet I've already mastered a perfect level martial art. In their eyes, I'm an incomparable genius. No wonder Zhang Lin didn't stand a chance. I ignore the flattery and the noise, walking straight toward what's left of him. I start searching Zhang Lin's body with cold efficiency. The greater the risk, the greater the reward. I find 2 bottles of bone-setting ointment and several chi-gathering pills. 20 pills in total, that's worth 200,000 star coins right there. Then I find an unregistered star coin card with a massive balance. 100,000 coins. This guy clearly spent his life looting everyone he met. A fire ignites in my eyes as I look at these resources. I head straight to the high-end trade center as fast as possible. How can I help you, sir? The clerk asks with a respectful, professional bow. I scan the massive mall, taking in the sheer scale of the place. Powerful warriors are everywhere, moving through the crowds with purpose. Fully armed law enforcement teams patrol the halls, keeping perfect order. I want to see your secret martial arts manuals, I say, getting straight to the point. The clerk's eyes light up as he immediately leads me to the 2nd floor. The rows of dazzling secret manuals make my heart race with anticipation. Sky-soaring fist, F rank. Fierce and dominant. Price, 10,000 coins. Quick pick step, F rank footwork. The movement is strange and incredibly fast. Price, 20,000 coins. Then, I see the sword techniques. Wind cutter style, E rank. At its peak, it can slice through gales and waves. Price, 60,000 coins. I take a deep breath and make my decision. I'll take the wind cutter style and the quick pick step. I have an SSS level talent. It would be a waste not to learn high difficulty martial arts. Movement is the key to staying alive and chasing down enemies. And the sword is the offensive weapon I've always yearned for. Sir, I see you don't have a weapon yet, the clerk notes, and right now, our alloy swords are on sale. Only 20,000 star coins. Would you like one? He asks with pure enthusiasm. I don't hesitate for a second. I swipe the card and buy one immediately. Just like that, I spend almost every coin I have. Subscribe to the channel for more. I walk out of the shop carrying a heavy combat sword. It's made of refined iron, a massive upgrade to my arsenal. I head straight into a private cultivation room to begin my seclusion. 5 days pass in the blink of an eye. Inside the cultivation room, the floor space is massive. I strip off my heavy outer clothes. I grip the alloy sword and swing it over and over, making the air explode with every single strike. The blade lets out a piercing whistle with every movement. The dazzling glow of the sword shines as my spiritual power flows without limit. My eyes burn with a sharp intensity. I've reached expert-level mastery of the windcutter style. This level 1 art is difficult. It took me 5 whole days to master it. However, I've already pushed the F-rank quick pick step to perfection. I throw a casual palm strike and the air erupts in front of me. There's a faint, lingering scent of tea in the wake of the blast. I've reached the God of Wind level. If word of this ever got out, everything would change. The entire blue planet would tremble at the news. A god-tier martial art like this is unheard of. It's a domain that only the great masters are supposed to touch. These are the kinds of breakthroughs I live for. 5 days have passed. My body feels like a bottomless pit. I look at the empty containers of body-tempering pills. Every single one of them has been consumed. I ate them like they were nothing but candy. A normal person takes a full day to digest just one pill. I finish them in 30 minutes, and the results are staggering. In just 5 days, my cultivation realm has skyrocketed like a rocket ship. I've reached the 7th heaven of the body-tempering stage. The wild power surging through me is so intense it makes my scalp tingle. It's a shame I've run out of ammunition. Otherwise, I'd have the confidence to push straight to the 10th heaven. But everything requires money. My resources have been completely drained. If I want to keep improving at this speed, I have no choice but to head into the wasteland and hunt demons. I grab my sword and exit the cultivation room, ready for the harvest. Meanwhile, at the Black Wind Gang base, a scarred man stares at a screen. Black Wolf, a 9th heaven expert, watches the video of me killing his men with a face like thunder. A cold light flickers in Black Wolf's eyes. The subordinate beside him leans in and whispers, "Boss, they say this kid was only at the 1st heaven before. He suddenly became this strong, so he must be carrying some kind of treasure." Black Wolf's eyes light up as he says, "Of course, he must have stumbled onto a lucky break. Spread the word. Bring that boy to me alive. I want him to learn the price of offending this base." Black Wolf barks the order to his men. The thugs at the headquarters receive the command instantly. They storm out of the building, preparing to head to my house. Their mission is simple: capture Wang Yu. At that very same moment, I am already miles away. I carry nothing but my alloy sword, a small travel pack, and the determination to face the wasteland alone. I spot a 6th heaven warrior nearby who just finished a hunt. He managed to take down a tier 1 demonic beast. To his shock, the beast actually dropped the star core. An inner core like that is a rare find inside a monster's body. It's worth 1,000,000 new coins. Damn, what a lucky break. A tier 1 beast actually yielding an inner core is unheard of. That's even more outrageous than a lottery win. Most low-level demonic beasts can't even produce an inner core. But that lucky bastard actually found one. I thought to myself, if I could get a core every time I killed a beast, life would be a dream, but I need to stop daydreaming. Even if one did drop for me, with my current strength at the 2nd level of body refinement, could I even protect it? The crowd around the hunter began to argue heatedly over the find. I listened to their bickering and felt a pang of envy in my heart. That guy really has the devil's own luck. I pushed past the crowd and walked straight toward the wasteland. The outskirts of the wasteland are a chaotic battlefield of humans and demons. But out here, humans hunting other humans for treasure is even more common. In the desert, human nature is far more terrifying than any monster. You never know when the person standing next to you will strike. Even the closest teammates can turn on you in a heartbeat. Out here, there is no one to trust. Keeping your guard up is the only way to stay alive. I am the only one responsible for my own life. I was scanning the desert for monsters when a sudden roar echoed from nearby. It was deafening and carried a lethal threat. My pupils contracted as I braced for impact. The beast was closing in fast. I heard the sharp whistle of the wind breaking. A creature with jagged, razor-sharp teeth lunged straight at me, but I immediately activated my ethereal steps. My body felt light, fueled by an incomparable surge of strength. I dodged the monster's opening strike with ease. It was a blue bird rat. I stared at the level 1 demonic beast crouching just a few feet away. It was agile, fast, and had a notorious craving for the taste of human blood. Its claws were sharp, and those fangs in its mouth were perfect raw materials for crafting high-end weapons. They were worth a fortune on the market. Suddenly, the memories of a man named Ryu flashed in my mind. Detailed data about this creature's reality began to surface. Blue bird rat. Weakness, wind cutter blade technique. I stared at the grotesque monster and immediately activated my blade technique. The blue bird rat let out a sharp hiss, enraged that I dared to strike first. It lunged at me with everything it had. Boom! I unleashed the sword technique. My movement was incredibly fast and fierce as I slashed at the beast. A sickening crack echoed as my wind cutter blade found its mark. I had already reached the mastery level with this technique. Every single move I made was perfectly refined. My ethereal steps allowed me to dodge its desperate counters with ease. The creature's massive body was the largest I had ever seen for its kind. It was soon covered in blood and looking miserable, so I moved in for the kill. I swung my alloy battle sword with everything I had. The blade tore right through the blue bird rat's neck. I killed it instantly, watching the light fade from its eyes. I stood over the decapitated corpse of the demonic beast. A surge of pure joy rushed through me. I thought, am I really this strong already? In just a matter of moments, I had taken down a level 1 monster on my own. Ding! Congratulations, host, you have obtained an inner core. A level 1 bluebird rat is considered a formidable monster. Normally, someone at the 8th stage of the body refinement realm would need to struggle with every ounce of their strength just to kill it. But thanks to my mastery of the wind cutter blade and my perfect execution of the ethereal steps, I had taken it down with ease. It seemed my combat power far exceeded that of an average warrior at the 8th stage. I realized that if I were to use my god-level Falling Cloud Palm, I would have the confidence to fight a warrior at the 9th stage of body refinement. I took a deep breath and then proceeded to harvest the fangs from the blue bird rat. My hunt in the wasteland had only just begun. I activated the Zanzer blade technique, one strike after another, wielding my alloy battle sword. A cold aura radiated from the steel as I slaughtered one monster after the next. As the battle raged on, my real-world combat experience was growing richer by the second. Hours passed, and I had already killed 2 people. I'd slain dozens of monsters, and the pack on my back was stuffed with materials. Selling all of this should be enough to fund my cultivation for a while. I hoisted the heavy backpack and began walking slowly toward the wasteland exit when suddenly I heard a sound. The sound of hurried footsteps and muffled curses echoed from not far away. A man carrying a bundle was running for his life, chased by a fierce-looking gang. The man suddenly shouted, "Old Six, take the inner core. I'll distract them." The ragged man threw a small box directly at me. An inner core? My pupils contracted as I realized he was trying to frame me. Without a moment of hesitation, I swung my alloy battle sword. I slashed straight at the box the man had thrown toward me. The blade shattered the box instantly, revealing that it was completely empty. The man didn't expect me to be so decisive or to destroy the box without hesitation. I looked at him coldly and said, "Don't even try your tricks on me. A guy at the 6th stage of body refinement. Like you couldn't possibly possess an inner core anyway. Hand it over quietly, and I might spare your life." The man chasing from behind shouted. A faint, cruel smile played on the corner of his mouth as he spoke in a deep voice. The man's name was Xiaohua. He was pale, gasping for air, and glaring at me with a ferocious expression. The group chasing Xiaohua belonged to the Blue Moon Gang. Their leader was Lan Shan, a warrior at the 7th stage of body refinement. I looked at them, and a flash of killing intent flickered in the depths of my eyes. "You really think you can take advantage of me?" I thought, my grip tightening on my sword. Lan Shan turned to me and said, "Kid, I know you're not with him. Get lost, and we won't hurt you." But then he paused and added, "Wait, hand over that inner core first. Otherwise, I'll kill you right where you stand." I ignored Lan Shan and turned my gaze back to Xiaohua. Xiaohua looked stunned, wondering if I was actually serious about taking the heat. Lan Shan stared at me, confused by my lack of fear. "Does this kid really have a death wish?" he muttered. Xiaohua let out a mocking laugh and said, "Kid, you've got guts. Here, take it." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a blood-red inner core. It was a genuine rank 1 core from a demonic beast. Xiaohua tossed the glowing red stone directly at me, and I caught it without hesitation. Lan Shan and his men stopped their pursuit, surrounding me as they watched the core land in my hands. I looked at them with a cold face, acting as if there was no one else around. I tucked the demonic core into my bag and asked indifferently, "What's wrong? You want it? I want your life." Lan Shan roared, shamed into a fury as he signaled his men. They launched a coordinated strike directly at me. I saw that these fools didn't know the difference between living and dying, so I immediately drew my blade to use the lightning wind slash. I didn't hesitate to counterattack. I used the misty step to go through the attacks of Lan Shan and his thugs. My alloy sword became a scythe of death, easily reaping the lives of Lan Shan's lackeys. Xiaohua stood nearby, watching the sudden explosion of violence. He froze as he witnessed my sudden burst of power. Shock filled his heart as he watched me move. "This kid, what terrifying strength," he thought while the air grew heavy with the scent of blood. These were some of the toughest fighters found in the city. Lan Shan's men were all warriors at the 7th or 8th stage of body refinement, but their formation was shattered instantly. They couldn't even touch the corner of my clothes. Miserable wails and the sound of clashing steel echoed through the clearing. The space was filled with the screams of the dying. Lan Shan watched his subordinates get slaughtered like helpless chickens. I was tearing through them so fast, Lan Shan's heart must have been bleeding. "You're practically begging for death," I muttered. Lan Shan roared and lunged at me with his falling cloud palm, but I just raised my blade. I countered with my own falling cloud palm at the transcendent level, packing 1,000,000 pounds of force. The palm wind exploded forward with a crushing impact, slamming directly into Lan Shan's chest. No, Lan Shan screamed, his voice cracking with desperation. A flicker of pure terror flashed in his eyes right before I finished him. My falling cloud palm hit him so hard it literally blew his body to pieces. Not a single part of him was left intact, and his men started wailing. "Boss, I surrender. Don't kill me. Please, just let me go," one of them begged. "I'm a good person, I swear," he cried as he fell to his knees. Lan Shan's remaining killers watched their leader get erased from existence. I had slaughtered him so easily, turning his body into a red mist. They were so terrified I could practically hear their hearts stopping. Where did this monster come from, killing people without even blinking? To them, I looked like a great demon reincarnated on Earth. I thought about the 100 million star coins I needed and snorted coldly. I didn't care about their fear. I completely ignored their pathetic pleas for mercy. Moments later, I had wiped out the entire Blue Moon gang single-handedly, while Xiaohua watched in shock. Xiaohua stood not far away. His face shifted from mockery to pure terror as he realized I was a monster. I had annihilated the entire Blue Moon gang alone, without taking a single scratch. "Little brother, I already gave you the pill. Can I go now?" Xiaohua spoke with a trembling voice, not daring to show any defiance. I didn't care about these people in the slightest. The thick scent of blood in the air was constantly overwhelming Xiaohua's senses. He couldn't fathom what kind of man I was, just that I was incredibly strong. "I spared your life, so how are you going to thank me?" I asked coldly. I tilted my head and looked at him like he was nothing but a nuisance. Xiaohua's heart skipped a beat. He stared at the young man, standing in front of him. Even after killing so many people, my expression hadn't changed once. Worse, I was looking at him like he was already a dead man. Terror wrapped around his heart as he stammered, "I'll give you 100,000. But before he could even finish his sentence, my blade was already moving. There was a sickening squelch as the steel bit into flesh. Blood sprayed everywhere as his body collapsed straight to the ground. A crimson river began to flow steadily from the open wound. Xiaohua's eyes remained wide and dazed, never expecting me to strike so fast. Without a doubt, I wasn't going to leave him any room. No room to maneuver at all. "You pay with your life," I muttered to myself. I looked down at the body as it hit the dirt. Watching him fall, I didn't feel a single ounce of guilt. "You were the one who wanted to win this game. I'm just settling the debt early, giving you exactly what you deserved. If it weren't for my strength and seeing through his tricks, I would probably be the one lying there right now. Just another cold corpse in the sand." I didn't waste any more time. I moved through the bodies and stripped Lan Shan and the others of their loot. The haul from these guys is actually pretty good, I thought. It was a shame there weren't any star coin cards in the pile. I stared at the stack of medicinal herbs and valuable materials. I whispered to myself as I packed everything up. I hoisted several large bundles onto my back and started walking. I headed slowly toward the exit of the wasteland. A thick, heavy aura hung over my head. A dark, malevolent energy swirled around my body. I looked like a god of slaughter standing there. Many of the passers-by nearby felt a surge of fear just looking at my face. They kept their distance. None of them dared to even think about crossing me. I handed over the fangs I had collected. Bronze beast parts and iron wolf skins followed. Then came the Tseline grass for the company staff to inspect. The clerk began tallying the items one by one. He carefully sorted through everything in my pack. He looked up and met my eyes. His demeanor turned respectful immediately. "Without overwhelming strength, it would be impossible to bring this much back from the wasteland safely. I might have looked young, but my power was undeniable. The pile of loot and the blood staining my clothes were all the proof he needed. That will be a total of 600,000 star coins," the clerk said respectfully, and I raised my eyebrows in surprise. 600,000 star coins wasn't bad at all, but I wasn't done yet. I reached into my bag and pulled out the beast's demonic core. The clerk's eyes lit up the moment he saw it. He clearly recognized the value of a prize like this. "Sir, for this demonic core, we can offer you 1,000,000 star coins." I nodded with satisfaction at the offer. 1,000,000 star coins was a solid haul. It would be more than enough to buy the body-strengthening pills I needed. With this, I could finally push my cultivation to the 10th level. I told him I needed to make a few more purchases before leaving. Once the transaction was settled, I walked out with my new gear. I had 100 body-strengthening pills tucked away in my pack. I also bought a full set of high-grade combat armor. To top it off, I picked up 2 level 1 martial arts manuals. I headed straight toward the martial arts school in the city. I needed a place to test my limits and refine my skills. I arrived at the Warriors Scar Training Center. I stood in the middle of the hall, ready to begin my real training. I held a strange pose, feeling an aura that was almost invisible to the eye. A constant energy began wrapping itself around me. My body emitted a faint cracking sound as I pushed my limits. If anyone looked closely, they would see a slight golden glow. The Vajra Awakening is incredibly difficult to master, even after practicing for so long. I've only just reached the entry level, but it truly earns its rank as a level 1 martial art. My money definitely didn't go to waste on this one. I muttered to myself as the golden light intensified across my skin. This is the true power of the Vajra Awakening. It's the level 1 martial art I picked up back at the training center. I bought it specifically to survive the dangers of the warrior's scar. At the entry level, I can coat my entire body in a layer of golden light. It acts as a shield against enemy damage, but the cultivation process is brutal. It took me forever just to get the basics down, but the payoff is massive. The moment I activate the Vajra Awakening, I feel my physical constitution shift. My endurance has reached a whole new level. My attack power surged too, especially since I also bought the level 1 Heavenly Yuan Saber. At the perfect level, it can even rival an ordinary Earth-level martial art. As for the Divine Transcendence level, it seems no one has ever achieved it. The manual says if I can reach that transcendental state with the saber, it would be a divine trend, offering massive benefits to my overall health. I need to fully grasp the saber stance and the Nath technique. That is the mark of a true martial master. Once a man realizes his potential, he truly comes into his own. Combining this saber stance with a powerful blade makes killing high-level enemies as easy as drinking water. Just thinking about that power leaves me speechless. I've never heard of anyone who could actually pull it off. Not before advancing to the innate realm, at least. To master the saber stance at my current level is unheard of, but if I could understand it now, even an invincible fighter at the acquired level wouldn't be able to block my strike. I stayed in the training room, focused on my cultivation. To be honest, I was pouring everything into the Vajra Awakening. I gripped my alloy battle sword tight. I struck the alloy equipment repeatedly, feeling my familiarity with the heavenly saber grow. Outside, the number of people gathering in the city continued to rise. Time passed slowly as I refined my skills bit by bit. Chapter 10, The Triple Fracture Heaven. My physical body was changing, and I felt a surge of triumph. I am the host of this power, and I will break through the triple heaven. My body felt like it was fracturing under the pressure. Then, the mechanical chime of the system rang out. The sound echoed in my mind as I gasped for air. A flash of realization crossed my face as shadows flickered in my mind. Golden light surged as I slammed my fist into the training room's force gauge. The impact let out a sharp, metallic crack. The entire room trembled as I stared at the display for 1,000 kilograms. My pupils dilated as a torrential power flooded through my veins. With raw physical strength alone, I can now unleash massive force. I actually achieved a 4,000 kilogram strike with just my body, and that's without even using a single martial technique. The average strength of a Hoteon warrior is only 4,000 kilograms. I realized that my raw power is already equal to an average Hoteon fighter. If I add the Tian Yuan blade to the mix, I'll be unstoppable. A Hoteon warrior is nothing more than an ant I can crush. I can take them down easily. I pulled up my attribute panel. Name, Wang Yu. Talent, SSS rank 100 speed divine body. Level, triple body fracture. Cultivation, basic Roman formula. Technique, Vajra body fracture. Martial arts, and an F rank Sunday level. Divine, wind cutting sword technique. Level 1 divine domain. Fleeting step, F rank, perfect level. It is. Parrying at level 1%. Perfect. Vajra formula. First domain, I-40 soul. Holes. Time until next communication. Copying in 12 days. Looking at my attribute panel, I couldn't help but sigh. My cultivation was still a bit slow, even though I had reached the body fracture level. The Tian Yuan blade still hadn't reached the divine domain, but the profile level Tian Guan blade is actually quite good. It was enough. The perfect level Tian Guan blade wasn't much worse. Then some earth level martial techniques. A small setback. I had only reached the combat level of the domain. I gave the domain level Vajra formula a light test. This domain could grant immunity to roughly 1 million people. It reduces damage by 10%, even if it only looks like that on the display. Hitting that 10% mark is huge. It's honestly terrifying, and after using the token, the attack power of my Vajra formula increases significantly. I decided to keep cultivating until I reached the next stage. But suddenly, my communication device let out a sharp ping. I frowned, wondering who it could be. I opened the message immediately. Wang Yu, your sister stole from the Li family. Get down here right now. The cold voice echoed in my ears, and my pupils shrank. Stealing? What a joke. I know my sister's character better than anyone. She's quirky, sure, but she'd never stoop to petty thievery. The Li family, huh? If they can't give me a real explanation, then they shouldn't blame me for being impolite. She glared at Wang Xinyue and spat. You're so young and already a thief? Your brother is probably trash too. When he gets here, we're arresting both of you. This was Li Lan, the young miss of the powerful Li family from Tainan. A group of family servants stood tall behind her, all of them looking down at Wang Xinyue with pure contempt. Wang Xinyue's face turned bright red as she screamed, I didn't steal anything. You're framing me, she cried, but a cruel glint flashed in Li Lan's eyes. You're just slum trash. If we say you stole it, you stole it. It's not your place to talk back to us. A crowd gathered nearby, pointing and gossiping about my sister. Who would have thought such a pretty girl was a common thief? Maybe the Li family is just bullying her? No way, they're too big to lie about a brat. Flies don't swarm an egg unless there's a crack. She must have done something. Wang Xinyue felt a surge of pure agony, burning in her chest. She hadn't done a single thing wrong. Why were they doing this to her? Li Lan let a twisted, smug smile creep across her lips as she watched my sister crumble. It doesn't matter if you stole it or not, you'll carry this reputation for the rest of your life. Li Lan paused as a thought struck her, feeling a surge of twisted pleasure in her heart. Make way. My voice rang out from the edge of the crowd. The coldness in my tone was like a sudden frost hitting the street. Xinyue couldn't hold it back anymore. She burst into tears as I pulled her into a gentle hug. Quiet now. As long as I'm here, everything will be fine. Brother, I really didn't do it. Xinyue managed to choke out through her heavy sobs. I looked at her and nodded. Then I turned my gaze toward Li Lan. I had seen enough. Chapter 11. The Crisis of the Republic. Thank you. Is your life enough to pay for this? I asked indifferently, my voice devoid of emotion. The air turned heavy. Li Lan's pupils contracted in sudden fear. Aren't you just a useless piece of trash? A brat with zero talent, with no hope of ever reaching the celestial rank. The people nearby started to back away in fear. Their faces were twisted with malicious glee. Someone whispered, has he lost his mind? That's the young Mississippi, the eldest daughter of the main family. A genius with S-rank talent and a 5th-level body tempering cultivation. I guess they thought I was still the same weakling from before. To them, it was obvious that I was a dead man walking. Everyone looked at me as if I were already in a coffin, or just a complete and utter fool. I didn't say a word. I just kept my eyes fixed on her. Li Lan pointed at us and screamed, grab them. Seize both of these pathetic rats right now. You actually have the nerve to threaten me? Li Lan hissed, her face contorted with pure rage. She was gnashing her teeth in absolute hatred. Usually, anyone who saw her would bow and call her my lady. But here I was, opening my mouth to demand her very life. She clearly thought I had a death wish. If we don't break this brat now, he'll think he can get away with anything. How dare he criticize me? The others looked on in shock. The servants behind Li Lan heard her words and glared at me with pure malice. How could I dare to threaten their young miss? He clearly has a death wish. Catch them alive. I want them to regret ever being born. Li Lan kept barking orders, and her servants lunged at me all at once. The corners of my mouth curled into a cold smirk. Capture me alive? Humph, good luck with that. I didn't hold back and immediately unleashed my Luoyuan palm. I channeled the full power of my 10th level body tempering cultivation. I combined it with the god-tier mastery of the Luoyuan palm technique. I struck directly at the crowd rushing toward me. The force of the palm wind was overwhelming, carrying the scent of absolute destruction. Boom, boom, boom. There was nowhere for them to hide. A series of violent roars echoed through the air. The massive impact triggered a shockwave that tore through the space. With the sound of flesh tearing, the crowd that rushed me was instantly broken. They were no match for my counterattack. I gently covered Wang Xinjue's eyes so she wouldn't have to see the carnage. It was a bloodbath. The crowd stood there, frozen in shock. Blood was splattered across the pavement. Chunks of flesh littered the ground, making everyone's stomachs churn. They looked away, unable to handle the gore. The sheer violence of it was insane. I felt their eyes on me, heavy with terror. How can this be? Someone stammered. Isn't he just her brother? Wasn't Wang Xinjue's brother supposed to be a talentless loser? Then what was that devastating attack he just unleashed? That was the Luoyuan palm, but at a level I've never seen. A man in the crowd turned to his friend, his voice trembling. My nephew goes to Hangling First High School. He knows that move, but he's never shown power like this. Is it even possible? That was a god-tier Luoyuan palm. How old is he? How could he master a technique to that degree? Are you kidding me? Do you even realize what this means? That group of servants wasn't weak. They were all at the 8th or 9th level of body tempering. And yet, I had annihilated them all in a single breath, wiping them all out in a single blow. I heard a sharp gasp. This guy is way too strong, isn't he? He looks like he's barely 16 years old. But the power he's hiding is terrifying. The World Alliance family really messed up this time. They just kicked a literal wall of steel. With a genius sister like that, they probably stole his life's potential. It's just too much to process. I'll see you next time. Wait, weren't you just saying he was a nobody? And now, suddenly, he's a master of great power? Do you even know what you're talking about? Wang Yu, listened to the frantic chatter of the crowd. I looked around and felt nothing but pure ridicule. These people don't even have the basic capacity to think. They can't even do their own jobs properly. They have no right to judge what is right or wrong. Their opinions aren't worth a second of my time. They're just weather vanes, spinning whichever way the wind blows. But the way they looked at me now was undeniably different. She was terrified. She couldn't find even a single trace of emotion in my eyes. Wang Yu, showed her nothing but cold indifference, like I was staring at a corpse. He's going to kill me. Li Lan's heart pounded as she trembled and stammered. My father is Ligan. You can't kill me. I didn't say a word, just kept my eyes locked on her as I closed the distance. Her body shook violently as I demanded, tell me, why did you slander my sister? It was Chun Xiao from school number 3. He confessed to her, and she rejected him. He asked me to help him deal with her, so his reputation wouldn't be ruined. Li Lan blurted it all out in a panic, and I repeated the name under my breath. Chun Xiao. My voice was low and dangerous. I had never even heard of the guy. That Chun Xiao is my classmate. I think he's the grandson of the 3rd elder of our country. From our very own Lynx Pavilion. Wang Xinjue spoke up, whispering the information to me quietly. The situation with the authorities and the health system was the last thing on my mind. The grandson of the pavilion's 3rd elder. Right here in Linxiao. My eyes narrowed slightly as I processed the name. I knew exactly what kind of power the pavilion held. Lin Xiao was a famous force in our city of Jiangli. The pavilion master himself, Zhang Lin Xiao, also known as Lin San, is a warrior of the 8th postnatal heaven. His strength is legendary, and he's a major figure in Jiangling City. How dare this Qin Xiao brat think he could bully my sister? Not even a heavenly king could protect him from me now. To be so young, and yet possess such a wicked, rotten heart. If I don't stop him now, he'll only become a greater monster. Lilan watched my expression closely. She could tell something was shifting in the air. A tiny flicker of hope sparked in her eyes. Chapter 12, The Postnatal Pill. I'm very close with Qin Xiao. If you kill me, the Lin Xiao Pavilion will never let you go. Lilan spat the threat out, but I just stared back at her with a look of pure contempt. This woman actually thought the Lin Xiao Pavilion could scare me off. Brother, what if we just let it go? The Lin Xiao Pavilion is just too powerful, Xinjue whispered, never expecting such injustice for a simple rejection. I reached out and gently patted Xinjue's head. I told her softly not to worry about a pathetic little place like the Lin Xiao Pavilion. Lilan's heart sank as she realized I wasn't afraid at all. She felt the weight of my presence pressing down on her. The pressure from my aura was suffocating. Her face twisted back into a mask of pure terror. She started babbling incoherently, desperate to save her life. I raised an eyebrow when she mentioned it, a postnatal pill. This was a pill capable of triggering the most important change in a warrior. It facilitates the condensation of origin force seeds within the body. I had just been thinking about how to reach the postnatal realm myself. To become a true postnatal warrior, you must condense those seeds of power. Only by forming those seeds can you truly call yourself a master. Once the origin force seeds take root, every physical attribute skyrockets. The strength of the warrior reaches a completely different level. A first-rank postnatal warrior can easily crush a dozen peak martial artists. A single postnatal pill is worth millions of dollars on the open market. Star coins, and even then, it's rarely ever available for sale. This brat actually had a postnatal pill on her. Hand it over. The postnatal pill and the star coin card. Now, I didn't let up for a second. I stared Lilan down with a cold, piercing gaze. Lilan scrambled to pull a small box from her pocket. She fumbled with the star coin card, her hands shaking. I snatched the box and the card from her hand and saw the crystalline pill inside. It was a genuine postnatal pill. A surge of pure joy rushed through me. The little brat didn't lie to me after all, so I tucked the items away. Lilan watched me take her treasures, her eyes burning with hidden malice. Inside, she was screaming, "You actually dare to steal from Miss Li? When my father returns, I'll make sure you suffer the death of 1,000 cuts." Her heart was drowning in infinite hatred, obsessed with the thought of killing me. Suddenly, a cold flash of light sliced through the air. Lilan felt her entire body go numb and cold in an instant. Confusion filled her mind for a split second before she lost consciousness forever. "I never promised I wouldn't kill you. I only told you to hand over the goods." I spoke the words with a voice like ice. The crowd around us erupted instantly. I had actually killed the young miss of the family. What a beast. This time, the head of the family. And Ollie, they're going to lose their minds. He's far too cruel. Such a delicate beauty. Murdered just like that. What a waste of a girl. They looked at me like a devil who kills without blinking. Did they really think that she was a good person? Lilan's death caused a massive stir. No one expected it. Who would actually dare to kill Lilan? She was the young miss of the Li family. They weren't just wealthy, they were a family with deep roots. This was a major event for Hunglin City. The news spread like wildfire, especially since the head of the Li family is a Hotian warrior. He's a famous figure in Jiangling City too. I ignored the chatter around me and focused on Wang Xinjue. We quickly made our exit from the Li estate. The crowd remained stunned, staring at the spot where the young miss had vanished. Long after we had gone, the head of the family, Li Gan, finally returned to the city. He stepped into the Li residence. Li Gan took one look at the scene before him, and his heart was instantly consumed by a monstrous rage. His own daughter was actually dead. He stared at his favorite child lying in a pool of blood on the floor, feeling as if his heart was being torn apart. It felt like 1,000 knives were stabbing him at once. "I will have my revenge," Li Gan roared, his voice echoing through the halls. The sound was so loud it shook the entire street, terrifying every passerby. News of Lilan's death didn't take long to saturate all of Jiangling City, that which had been close with many of the city's wealthy playboys. Over at the Su family, a beautiful woman heard that a Wang Yu had killed Lilan. Her eyes flickered as she thought, it must just be someone with the same name, right? The Wang Yu from our school has no talent, and Lilan was an A-level genius, a 5th heaven earth rank warrior, and that physical body is right by his side, she thought. Su Yin's heart wavered as she pictured that sad-looking boy. A trace of disappointment inevitably flickered in her eyes. What a pity, he has no talent at all. She immediately resumed her cultivation, a bone-chilling cold spreading downward. The frost surged constantly through her body. While everyone else was fixated on Lilan's death, I had other plans. I took my sister to the cultivation hall to begin our training. I had secured the Hotian pill, and I wasn't going to let it go to waste. Once I break through and surpass a standard warrior, the head of the Li family will be nothing more than disposable trash. A few days later, I had refined my state to its absolute peak. I swallowed the Hotion pill, feeling a warm aura flow into my veins. After breaking through the first Hotion level, I triggered my body-breaking technique. My bones let out a sharp, crackling sound as the air itself began to warp. The world's original force began gathering slowly toward my dantian. I let out a cold huff and glanced at the mirror in the darkroom. The cultivation hall felt heavy with concentrated energy. Suddenly, the system's voice echoed clearly inside my mind. I am officially a warrior now. System, open a tribute panel. Name, Wang Yu. Talent, SSS rank, 100-fold divine speed body. Realm, first heaven Hotion. Technique, basic body breaking. Martial art, F-class Luoyan soul. Transcendent divinity, level 1 wind slicing saber. Movement, F-class ethereal step. Soul, 1. Time remaining until next copy. I felt a surge of absolute confidence. I realized that to surpass a standard warrior, I need more than just basic training. The more devastating the damage I can unleash on my enemies. Next, it was time to see exactly how far I could push this system's control. I need to buy a new cultivation technique. The thought echoed in my mind as I planned my next move. I'm still using a basic body tempering technique to cultivate. At this rate, I have no idea when I'll actually surpass my limits. Then there's the issue of the medicinal pills I need for my training. The supplements required for a warrior's cultivation are astronomically expensive. Primordial energy pills can make a warrior's principal seeds grow much faster. But the price for a single pill is a staggering 100,000 new coins. I let out a long, heavy sigh before turning to leave. I have to keep hunting for more resources. A Hotian-level technique and primordial energy pills are massive expenses. I have to admit, that girl Elan was surprisingly considerate. She basically contributed a bank card to my cause earlier. When I finally checked the balance on the card, I found a cool 5 million new coins waiting for me. She really is the daughter of a powerful, wealthy family. A simple young lady, yet she carries that much cash on her person. As for the Li family, if they dare to get angry, let them. They'll just become more fuel for my growth once I show them the consequences. If I keep stripping everything from Lilan, could things get even better? I couldn't help but lose myself in thought until Wang Xinyue's voice snapped me back. She stared at me, her eyes wide with disbelief. I reached out and gently patted her head. I told her simply, "That's right, your brother is now a Hotian-level warrior." She blinked those big eyes of hers, processing the words. Even though she's young, she understands what that title means. Becoming a warrior at 16 is unheard of. It makes me a genius among geniuses. Most of the senior teachers at her school are still stuck at that same rank. And here I am, matching them before I've even graduated. "Brother, is it true?" she whispered. "Are you really a monster? Is this the power of an SSS-level talent?" She looked at me with a mix of confusion and pure awe. I just smiled and leaned in closer. "Keep this a secret," I warned. "If the wrong people find out, it'll mean trouble." She immediately clamped her hand over her mouth, nodding frantically. I decided to take her to the most luxurious spot in Jiangling City, the Zonglian Mall. It was time for my sister to finally enjoy a shopping spree without worrying about the cost. Once you reach the warrior level, you enter a completely different world. In this world, nobody dares to offend a warrior lightly. At a certain point, you stop being an ordinary person. That's what it means to possess true martial power. We arrived at the center of the district. The streets were buzzing with life and energy. I led my sister through the crowd, feeling her excitement. I bought her stacks of beautiful clothes and every snack she laid eyes on. Everything she used to crave, but we could never afford. Once we finished our spree, we headed back with our haul. Both of us were loaded down with bags of all sizes. But as we approached our home in the Lumin district, I saw them. Members of the Yifei gang were loitering near the entrance. They were scouting the area around my front door. I arrived at Wang Yu's house, but the police had already torn the entire place apart. Now, these thugs from the gang were lingering like vultures. "You think anyone is actually coming back?" one of them asked. He had a toothpick in his mouth and let out a long yawn. Their leader, Island, picked up a jagged red stone. He hurled it straight through the window of my home. "Wait one more day," Island growled to his men. "If he doesn't show up, we're heading into the city to hunt him down." They were planning to head straight for my sister's school. Every single one of them wore the same thing on their faces. A pathetic, predatory smirk. Everyone knew my sister was a student at Guizhou University. She attended the number 3 high school branch. She was known for being incredibly beautiful, a girl whose kindness could move anyone. Before this, they never had an excuse to touch her. They hadn't been able to lay a finger on her yet. But now her brother had dared to stand up to the gang and Zen. They wanted her to pay for my crimes. I watched this group of thugs from the shadows. A pack of wolves circling my life. They were still loitering in the streets of the slum district. The neighbors saw them, but they looked away, terrified. There was no way for them to avoid the danger. They prayed in their hearts that I wouldn't return to Face Island. The gang members hadn't even thought about leaving. They were waiting for blood. And Island was an expert in making people bleed. They didn't believe a word of it. They couldn't imagine me standing a chance against Island yet. My talent was high, sure, but time was the one thing I didn't have. Even a genius needs years to grow, and I only had days. I made it back to my house with my sister, only to find a group of men waiting. They were loitering right at my front door like vultures. I stared them down and asked coldly, "Who are you, and what do you want?" Island rubbed his eyes, a mocking grin spreading across his face. Well, if it isn't Wang Yu, he sneered. The brat actually came back. Then his eyes drifted to my sister standing right behind me. His pupils dilated with a sudden, filthy hunger. He looked her up and down with a gaze that made my skin crawl. It was the look of a man who had already decided she was his. She was wearing a simple, white dress I'd bought for her. In this filth-ridden slum, she looked like a misplaced angel. The new clothes only made her look more radiant. She looked pure, innocent, and completely out of place here. Island spat on the ground and stepped forward. You killed my men and dared to defy Zen, he growled. And you have the nerve to ask who I am? He spoke with a voice like ice, but I just narrowed my eyes. I recognized them now, the gang from the Finno Syndicate. It was the same trash that used to shake us down for protection money. Brother, they destroyed everything, my sister whispered. She knew I hid behind me, her voice trembling as I scanned the wreckage. I looked around at what used to be our home. Everything was smashed, filthy, and scattered across the floor. A surge of cold fury boiled up in my chest. If they were this desperate to die, I wasn't going to stop them. I set my bags down slowly, never taking my eyes off them. My hand gripped the hilt, and I drew the blade of Al-Hussein. Island saw me reaching for my weapon and let out a bark of laughter. You actually want to fight? He mocked. Beg for mercy, and I'll make it quick. Otherwise, I'm going to take my time breaking every bone in your body. His voice was heavy with malice, but my gaze remained steady. Wang Yu, run. Island is at the 9th level of body refinement. You can't win. It was Uncle Lee, our neighbor, shouting from the distance. Don't worry, Uncle. I called back. These clowns aren't enough to make me run. I glared at Island and his crew, readying my first strike, Tianyuan, single slash. I whispered the name of the technique under my breath. The origin force within my body began to surge wildly. It felt like a storm gathering right beneath my skin. I guided that raw energy with a single, focused thought. I channeled it directly into the alloy blade, a tyrannical power erupting from my frame. Island and his thugs felt the sudden radiance and shivered in their boots. Wang Yu is a useless brat, Island stammered. How is this possible? But I wasn't the same weak kid they used to kick around. I would never let anyone touch what was mine ever again. Island screamed out, his voice cracking with sudden terror. The aura radiating from me made him feel like he was standing before a massive mountain. His will to fight vanished instantly, leaving him paralyzed with fear. Uncle Lee and the other neighbors watched from the distance, completely stunned. They couldn't believe their eyes as I stepped forward. I began to massacre the Black Wolf Syndicate members like they were nothing. I tore through their ranks, destroying everything in my path. They were cut down instantly, unable to even process what was happening. My strike was a blur of steel and absolute destruction. I didn't feel pity. I only felt the cold satisfaction of justice. Blood and bone fragments sprayed across the ruins of my home. The scene was exceptionally gruesome. It was disgusting to anyone who witnessed it. After I finished off Black Wolf, I turned my attention to the others. I looted their bodies and prepared to leave the Lumen district for good. The neighbors cried out, Wang Yu, you're incredible for destroying that tumor, the Ethan Syndicate. The cursed Ethan Syndicate is finally gone, my daughter. Your spirit in heaven can rest in peace now. Wang Yu, thank you for saving us. Seeing that I had eradicated the gang, the neighbors celebrated like it was a grand festival. Island had used his connections in the city to act like a king here. He used his power to do whatever he wanted to the people of Lumen. They had suffered under the Ethan gang for far too long. I shared a few parting words with the neighbors and then went to get my sister. As I left the district, everyone knew I had surpassed the boundless realm and no longer belonged in their world. I took my sister and found a random hotel nearby to stay in for the night. Once I am officially admitted into the elite ranks and secure my spot at the prestigious Five Paths University, I'll be able to buy my own house in the city center. In a world with billions of people across the blue planet, the Lumen district was nothing more than a crowded slum. And I was finally moving up. It was a world away from the safe and prosperous city center. The prices in the city were astronomical, to say the least. Just securing an urban residency is a wall most people never climb. It's a constant struggle for those trying to make it out. Having that residency determines the future of your children. There are only two ways to buy a house in the city center. The first way to get residency is to join the alliance. You have to follow the 5 paths and make a real contribution. You have to perform meritorious service for the state. The other way is to be admitted into a top-tier science university. At the 5 Paths University, students with elite grades are rewarded. They can earn their urban residency through academic excellence. I headed toward the martial arts pavilion, a place that never stops buzzing. Crowds of people were streaming in and out of the shop. I made sure my sister, Wang Xinjua, was safe first. Once she was settled at the hotel, I went to the shop alone and pushed through the crowd. I went straight to the section for Madrid University techniques. I needed to know, do you have any cultivation techniques? I didn't waste time and asked the staff member directly. The man looked at me and asked, Sir, are you looking to buy a cultivation technique? Are you looking for martial artist techniques? The staff member looked me up and down, sizing me up. I kept my expression neutral and waited for his answer. He frowned, and I thought, what's the matter? Is there a problem? The clerk took a deep breath and looked at me with pure disbelief. He stammered, could it be that you, sir, already? Are you already a martial artist? I simply nodded and said, just recently. I told him I had reached that level not long ago. Then I released my origin force. An astonishing aura radiated from my body, surging from my dantian. The clerk's pupil shrank as he realized I was a peerless genius at such a young age. He looked at me with fervor, thinking this was his chance to climb the ladder. Sir, have you considered joining the Tianwu Union? If you pass the evaluation, you can obtain a high-level cultivation technique for free. I stayed silent for a moment, weighing the name, the Tianwu Union. I knew the name well. It was founded by the world's #1 martial artist, Lin Tianwu. His influence spans the entire country. He is an absolute giant. Hundreds of years ago, he was an elite who crushed every opponent in his path. He defeated the old guard so decisively that the Tianwu Union became legendary. The organization enjoys worldwide renown, commanding respect from everyone. Even the most powerful foreign experts have fought to join its ranks. But the requirements to join an organization like this are massive. They are extremely demanding, starting with a mandatory internal recommendation. On top of that, you have to pass the grueling Tianwu evaluation process. The safety and security standards they set for their members are absolute. The bar for the Tianwu evaluation is set incredibly high. Countless prodigies from the top martial arts universities try to get in, but most fail an assessment that's harder than the national exams. However, if you actually pass, the rewards are life-changing. You get city residency, a free villa, and top-tier cultivation resources. Once you're in, any enemy who wants to touch you has to face the entire union. I weighed my own strength and thought, can I really do this? I just leveled up. I looked at the clerk and asked, don't you need to be at the innate level to join? My eyes narrowed as I waited for his confirmation. The threshold for the Tianwu Union has always been notoriously high. Ordinary martial artists usually don't stand a chance at all. Only those with true talent are even qualified to take the test. The staff member heard my question and his expression turned deeply respectful. He explained that under the new department rules, any martial artist can apply. If you pass the test, you officially become a member of the elite, even if it's just as a Tianwu reserve member for now. The staff explained the evaluation, and I finally understood the catch. Only martial artists under the age of 18 are allowed to participate. If I pass, I'll become a reserve member and join the union directly once I reach the innate level. I wouldn't even need another evaluation later, so I took a deep breath. The Tianwu Union. I just had to pass this one test. I could finally secure my official residency in the city. I'd get a house of my own and an advanced postnatal cultivation technique. I checked the communication system one last time to finalize everything. I'm in, I said, and the clerk's eyes lit up as he started the paperwork. Once the registration was finished, I bought an F-level combat knife. Then, I headed out. While waiting for the evaluation to begin, I found a place to prepare. I stepped into the advanced training hall to focus. I gripped my F-level iron blade as a sharp aura surged through my body. I swung the knife with everything I had. I practiced my techniques with total abandon inside that training room. I kept moving, my arms swinging in a constant, rhythmic blur. The air around me was filled with the cold glint of my blade. I pushed myself to the absolute limit, just a little further. I kept practicing until I could feel my strength reaching a new peak. For 2 full days, I focused on the Tianyuan exotic blade technique. I had already pushed it to the divinity realm yesterday, but I felt like I was still far from truly grasping its intent. I needed to feel the pulse of the blade. The fervor in my heart began to surge. I wanted a power that could destroy everything. Extreme damage to kill every looming danger. Suddenly, it felt like something was breaking open deep inside me. I finally understood. This was the blade momentum. An incredibly sharp, severe aura erupted from me. It wrapped around my body, turning me into a living weapon. The Tianyuan blade whispered in my hand. I slowly closed my eyes to feel the flow. When I opened them, an overwhelming power exploded from my core. The air itself seemed to condense into a massive, invisible blade. It slashed directly toward the super dummy in the training hall. I hadn't even swung my physical knife yet, but the sheer pressure of my intent was already lethal. The strike landed with a series of violent, explosive impacts against the dummy. The heavy sound of metal being crushed echoed through the room. A thunderous explosion followed, and I opened my eyes to stare at the wreckage. Watching the super dummy shatter in the distance, a smile crept onto my face. My blade momentum was finally complete. Could any warrior below the 4th Hotian level even stand against it? My heart was overflowing with confidence. I'll slaughter as many of them as they send my way. However, I still wasn't entirely sure about my limits against higher ranks. Crossing into the 4th level of the Hotian realm is a massive transition. The foundation shifts and the original power increases significantly. At that stage, the explosive power reaches a completely different scale. Everything below the 4th level of Hotian is just the beginning. Those ranks are merely considered the early stage of the Hotian realm. Reaching the 4th heaven of Hotian marks the true turning point. It is the entry into the intermediate stage of cultivation. An intermediate Hotian warrior can easily crush anyone in the early stages. That gap between realms isn't something easily crossed with just effort. I have confidence in my strength, but I won't let arrogance cloud my judgment. I possess an SSS level talent. As long as I follow the path, I'll succeed. Sooner or later, I will cultivate myself into a true martial god. And in just 8 more days, I'll be able to copy a brand new talent. I've already made up my mind. I'm going to take Sun Yan's talent for myself. Everyone will be participating in the assessment together. The exam points are all that matter now. So while I'm at it, I'll just copy her talent. It's truly top tier. Besides, the Tiangue evaluation is right around the corner. It starts in 24 hours, giving me one last day to grow stronger. When the time comes, I need to show them that I take this very seriously. This timed evaluation is my big chance. Once I pass this test, I'll finally get my hands on a Haute Eon cultivation technique, and it's going to be a high-level one at that. Chapter 16, Boiling Blood. I've already prepared myself. The cultivation techniques sold in warrior shops are garbage. Their levels are far too low, and the efficiency is pathetic. I refuse to waste my time on slow, bottom-tier methods. The top-tier powers have the fastest techniques, and I have the talent to match. With a cultivation speed 100 times faster than normal, I can't miss. I have to seize this opportunity and push my growth to the absolute limit. I'll take every advantage I can get and become the strongest man alive. I will become faster and stronger than anyone else. So it's time. Now, I'm going to put every ounce of my strength into mastering this basic cultivation technique. I focused entirely on my training. I dedicated myself without distraction to the research. I poured everything into refining my lean cultivation method. Inside a private room, deafening noises began to echo through the walls. The constant sound of bones cracking filled the air, followed by violent bursts of energy. 2 guards with powerful auras stood outside the door. The sounds coming from the room were enough to drive a man to despair. But the guards remained motionless, acting as if they hadn't heard a thing. Nearby, a short young man with a sickly complexion looked disgusted. He couldn't stop smashing the expensive objects in his reach. He tore through ancient wool tapestries and priceless calligraphy paintings. The once luxurious room was being systematically destroyed. Every piece of fine decor was being reduced to rubble. He had made a complete mess of the place. The young man stood surrounded by shattered ceramic shards. Rare antiques were scattered everywhere because they wouldn't let him have his revenge. If I can't kill them, I'll destroy everything in this room. Chen Xiao spat with pure malice, the grandson of the third elder and Wang Xinjue's classmate. After hearing about the situation regarding the death of Li Lan, Chen Xiao was so consumed by rage that he forgot to eat or sleep. Li Lan had met her end because of him, and he couldn't just stand by. If people knew his subordinate was killed and he did nothing, his reputation would be ruined. Chen Xiao didn't know how he could keep showing his face in Honglin City. Despite his youth, he possessed a personality that was extremely dominant and ruthless. Otherwise, he never would have ordered Li Lan to target Wang Xinjue in the first place. But Li Lan's death didn't make Chen Xiao feel guilty. It only made him feel restless and insulted. Someone actually dared to kill his person. They actually dared to touch Li Lan. The killer even had the nerve to claim that they had a good relationship with him while doing it. It was a blatant, stinging slap to Chen Xiao's face. After Li Lan's death, Chen Xiao had been acting like a madman. He kept screaming that he wanted revenge. But his grandfather, Chen Hong, stopped him and confined him to the house. Suddenly, the sound of the bedroom door creaking open echoed through the room. A white-bearded old man entered with a grim expression. "Get out. Don't bother me. I'm not eating." Chen Xiao didn't even look at him as he grabbed a teapot. He hurled it straight at the door, but Chen Hong caught it midair. The old man let out a heavy sigh. "Xiao, it's not that your grandfather doesn't want you to have your revenge. I am the one who gave you life, and I understand your pain. I promise you, once the Tianwu Assembly pre-selection evaluation is over, I will personally rip off Wang Yu's head and bring it to you," Chen Hong told his grandson. His face was twisted with grief, feeling a deep ache in his heart for the boy. "Grandpa, why wait? You were never like this before." Chen Xiao couldn't hold it back anymore. With eyes full of tears, he sobbed in Chen Hong's arms as the old man rubbed his forehead and spoke kindly. "This time, there are powerful figures from the Tianmu Assembly in Jiangling City, and our Link's Pavilion must be careful. We must act with caution. Everything has to wait until the assembly is over." It seemed Wang Yu killing Li Lan was also tied to the assembly. It all came down to the selection of new members, the candidates for the Tianwu Assembly. I'll say it again. Originally, the investigation into Wang Yu by the Li family was in full swing. Then suddenly, nothing. The entire city of Jiangling was waiting for the selection of the assembly's reserve members to begin. The selection process for these deputy positions was notoriously brutal. Becoming a reserve for the Tianwu Assembly was the goal. This is a golden opportunity. Join the assembly and you're set for life. Have you seen the entry requirements? Warriors under the age of 18. That alone left over 1 million candidates. That single condition already wiped out 99% of the population. The goal was to find and cultivate the absolute best. I heard the geniuses who passed the evaluation would receive massive resources. Nothing like this had ever happened before. Then, the day finally arrived. This was no ordinary assembly. I could only thank God for this chance. The selection for these reserve members wasn't just happening in our local community, or even just within Jiangling City. It was everywhere in the country. Everyone was talking about it. As long as you met the criteria and passed the trial, you'd receive the full backing and resources of the Tianwu Assembly. Every family, power, and gang that qualified rushed to sign up. After all, this was the organization of the martial god, Lin Tian, who wouldn't want in. Meanwhile, I stayed locked inside the training room, still focused entirely on my cultivation. My Vajra mantra erupted in countless flashes of golden light, each of my strikes carrying an incomparable, crushing power. Boom, boom, boom. My fists swung through the air. Inside that advanced training hall, the very air began to vibrate, with a constant, low roar that intensified as time passed. Then, the roar suddenly sharpened. Bang! I lost track of exactly how much time had slipped by, but my fist finally emitted a concentrated wave of golden light. That golden shockwave surged forward, slamming directly into the advanced training dummy. The high-level target didn't stand a chance. It was instantly reduced to nothing but ash. A notification flashed. Congratulations, your Vajra mantra mastery has increased. I had reached the next stage. I slowly relaxed my arms and took a breath. When I opened my eyes, they burned with a power beyond a normal human. A torrential force was lurking deep inside my body. I had mastered the 17th chapter of the Vajra mantra. The Five Tao Alliance wouldn't know what hit them. This technique truly deserves its reputation as the ultimate mantra. Even for a level 1 martial technique, the power was staggering. Now that my mastery had reached this radiant level, my physical strength felt like it had multiplied tenfold. At this point, even if I face a mid-stage Hotian warrior, I have the confidence to crush them. The energy flowing through my veins gave me absolute certainty. The system itself seemed much easier to navigate now. It felt smarter, tracking every slight improvement in my martial arts mastery. Open attribute panel, I muttered under my breath. Name, Wang Yu. Talent, Divine Body of Sienna. Speed, rank SS. I had finally reached that realm. Heavenly Joan cultivation method. Basic body tempering formula technique. Sword stance introduction. Increases swordsmanship power by 50%. F level falling cloud palm. Divine domain level. Level 1 wind cutting sword technique. Divine domain level. Level 1 misstep perfect mastery. Level 1 Heavenly Joan, Divine Domain. Level 1 Vajra Awakening, Perfect Mastery. Blood, 90. Soul, 1. Time until next dungeon copy, 7 days. 3 Divine Domain techniques, and 2 perfect level techniques, in less than a month. If others saw how fast I was progressing, their eyes would pop out of their heads. Martial arts usually require years of grueling practice, not just raw talent. Reaching perfect mastery is already a feat that most warriors only dream of. But Divine Domain level? That is the mark of a true Grandmaster. I should currently be at the early postnatal stage. I felt a smirk tugging at the corner of my mouth as I wondered, am I invincible? My cultivation level wasn't the highest yet, but my mastery was more than enough to bridge the gap. I had also mastered the sword intent, even if it was only the beginning. But even at this stage, it was terrifying. Usually, only innate level experts can even hope to grasp the essence of war. I hadn't heard of anyone else at the postnatal stage achieving this. It was time to head out and take the Tianghua assembly evaluation. Before leaving for the assembly grounds, I pulled out my phone. I sent a quick message to my sister to let her know. I walked straight toward the Tianbu assembly testing site. As I moved through the streets of Jiangling City, I noticed a change. The atmosphere was far more electric and lively than usual. Everywhere I looked, people were buzzing about the Tiangu assembly. They wondered which genius would emerge, whispering about Su family's top prospect. The crowd gasped. He's only 18 and already a postnatal warrior? Others scoffed. Those rich heirs eat body-strengthening pills like candy. Then there was Chun Tian, the young master of the Lynx Pavilion. He was also 18 and entering the fray today. Word was he had already reached the 6th level of the postnatal stage. The hype surrounding the Tianbu assembly was beyond anything I imagined. I listened to the chatter around me and felt a cold focus settle in. I knew this evaluation was important, but I didn't realize it was a circus. But now, everyone around me was arguing about the results. I still found the whole situation hard to believe. I even felt a slight surge of excitement. Chun Tian, let's see who the real genius is. I took a deep breath and walked quickly toward the testing grounds. The Tiangu assembly evaluation was held at the Five Paths Alliance of Jiangling City. The place was packed, with guards in Five Paths uniforms patrolling every corner. The Tianwu evaluation was finally happening right here. The entire Alliance headquarters was surrounded by a massive crowd of spectators. I had to force my way through the sea of people just to reach the gate. I finally made it to the entrance. Entry forbidden, a guard barked as I tried to step inside. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the identity token from the mall. I handed the token over to the guard without saying a word. His eyes widened, and he respectfully stepped aside to let me pass. The crowd behind me started whispering, "Who is that kid?" The guard actually let him in. He must be a participant. That young man looks like he means business. He looks about the same age as my cousin from the previous class. Is it possible he's already a certified warrior? Don't try to judge a genius with your narrow mind. One of the onlookers scoffed at the crowd. Do you even understand what a real genius is? A genius's cultivation is basically like using a cheat code. But even for a genius, this was a bit much. I didn't care about their chatter as I walked through the gate. My easy entrance caused quite a stir, but I didn't give them a second thought. My eyes were set on the Sea of Stars once I joined the Five Paths Alliance. A staff member immediately greeted me and led me toward the testing area. After walking for a short while, I followed the guide into a massive open space. I saw several important figures sitting in the high seats. Each one of them radiated a powerful, suffocating aura. The other candidates were already gathered in the center of the grounds. They stood in the plaza, waiting for the evaluation to begin. There were more than 200 people here. Every single one of them had come to prove their worth in this test. They all wore cold, distant expressions, ignoring everyone else around them. No one was making small talk or looking for friends. To become a certified warrior before the age of 18 is the ultimate proof of talent. A prodigy-level figure. Naturally, every person here has their own reputation and their own pride. I looked at the crowd around me and couldn't help but click my tongue. I never realized Jianglin City was hiding so many geniuses. Chapter 18. Why are you barking? I waited quietly as the geniuses around me stood in anticipation. No matter how much talent they had, it meant nothing against the passage of time. In the grand scheme of things, they were still just ants. I wonder what this evaluation will be like, someone whispered in the crowd. A few geniuses were discussing the test in low voices. No matter what happens, Li Tai will definitely pass. A burly young man snorted coldly at the comment. Who doesn't know you're all talk? In a moment, make sure you don't run away with your tail between your legs. A young man dressed in white mocked him. He looked at his rival and sneered. Do you really think you're the only one who can hit? It looked like a fight was about to break out. I used to let you win, Li Tai growled, unable to take the mockery any longer. I beat you like a dog back then, and I'm still letting you win now, got it? Then Li Tai is just too generous, haha. Su Xing continued mocking him. The crowd in the square began looking at Li Tai with strange expressions. Even though Li Tai was a genius with powerful talent, he had always been overshadowed by Su Xing. According to everyone, Li Tai had never actually won a fight against him. He lost every single time. Because of that, Li Tai's words sounded like a total joke. To everyone listening, there was no conviction in them at all. Li Tai saw the weird looks the crowd was giving him. His face turned incredibly ugly. The look in Su Xing's eyes was also extremely intense. Suddenly, Li Tai's resentment boiled over. He seemed to spot something in the distance, and his gaze landed on me. What the hell are you looking at? Do you want to die? Li Tai barked at me. He had singled me out in the square and immediately exploded. He was furious. Wang Yu, you're talking back to me again. My tone was ice cold as I looked Li Tai straight in the eye. I was being so blunt that the rage inside his heart burned even deeper than before. How did a brat like me dare to be so arrogant? What's the matter? Not convinced. Do you want this grandpa to help you practice? Li Tai spoke with a mocking sneer. His eyes fixed on me. He thought he couldn't handle Su Xing, but surely he could handle a pup like me. Everyone around us was watching the scene unfold. The crowd looked on with a mix of curiosity and anticipation. Even if Li Tai wasn't as good as Su Xing, he was still much stronger than the average person. Most of the people who came to participate in the evaluation were just as unimpressed by a brat like me. There was no need to offend Li Tai for my sake. I didn't say a word and just charged straight toward him. As I moved forward, Li Tai's eyes filled with a playful, mocking glint. Play with me then. You're courting death, kid. But I wasn't having it. I wasn't in the mood for games anymore. I was going to teach this ignorant brat a lesson right here and now. The origin force inside Li Tai's body surged violently, forming a suit of armor around him as a powerful energy concentrated in his fists. But before he could finish condensing his power, I had already closed the gap. I extended my palm and slapped Li Tai directly across the face. With a crisp crack, Li Tai was sent spinning to the ground. Why are you barking like a dog? I barked back at him. The crowd was instantly stunned. Where did this kid come from? Did he really just take him down with a single slap? This Li Tai had to be a fake, right? Even if Li Tai was always arrogant, he was still a Houghton Trip level warrior. He was supposed to be a powerhouse. A genius with a reputation to uphold. A high-level elite like him had been knocked flat on his back, and all it took was one single slap. Li Tai felt like his brain had completely stalled out. His system was overloading from the shock. His head was buzzing as he lay there, scorched by the impact. Humiliated by a brat like me, his face burned with an intense, searing pain. The corners of his mouth were torn open, and blood leaked out as my cold voice pierced his mind. I'm talking to you, Li Tai. Why are you still barking like a dog? The crowd whispered. How does he dare? Who is this kid? Why haven't we seen him before? He's way too strong, isn't he? Yeah, he dropped Li Tai with nothing but a slap. It's unbelievable. That's Li Tai we're talking about. Could this guy be some hidden powerhouse? A top-tier master in disguise? The surrounding crowd couldn't stop gossiping. Everyone was stunned by my display of power. Even the big shots nearby noticed me and asked, Hall Master, should we stop him? A middle-aged man in the VIP stands asked the question respectfully. Next to him sat a man radiating an imposing, heavy aura. His eyes were sharp, scanning the crowd with intense focus. This was Wang Sheng, the Hall Master in charge of Jade recruitment for Jiangling City. Incredible. I didn't expect to find such a young talent here today. Wang Sheng watched me from a distance, his excitement clearly growing. Moments later, a staff member rushed over and handed him my file. He scanned the document, looking for my age and background. His eyes stopped at the bottom of the page. Wang Sheng stared at the information gripped in his hand. His pupils contracted in pure, unadulterated shock. 16. He's only 16 years old. Back on the ground, I looked down at Li Tai and asked, Why are you still barking? I raised my foot and slammed it down onto Li Tai's chest. Li Tai gasped, feeling like a massive mountain had just collapsed onto him. He was pinned to the dirt, completely unable to move a muscle. The surrounding crowd gasped when they saw I wasn't showing any mercy. Where did this kid come from? He's absolutely ruthless. Li Tai struggled under my boot, wheezing. Let me go, you brat. You only won because you caught me off guard. If you've got the guts, let me up and fight me for real. His body trembled uncontrollably under my weight. He still had that same arrogant tone, showing no fear at all. I looked at him and thought, this useless trash is already broken. Yet even after being crushed, he still wants to fight me? I didn't hesitate and applied more pressure. I ground my heel into him. I aimed directly for his ribs. A faint, sickening sound echoed through the air. The sound of snapping bone. I forced Li Tai's ribs to give way under my boot. Li Tai let out a blood-curdling scream that pierced the arena. Cold sweat drenched his forehead as the pain took over. The crowd hissed, drawing in sharp breaths at my sheer ruthlessness. I asked you a question, I said coldly. Why are you still barking like a dog? I ignored his pathetic wailing and kept my eyes locked on him. Li Tai's heart was consumed by agony and a sudden, paralyzing fear. Kid, you're taking this way too far. He only mocked you a little. Is it really necessary to do this? A cold, authoritative voice suddenly rang out across the hall. Every person in the room turned their heads in unison to see who it was. A man in a blue shirt stood there, glaring coldly at me. That's Chun Tian from the Lynx Pavilion. He's actually going to defend Li Tai. This was about to get interesting. The crowd whispered that I was in real danger now. They said Chun Tian was a true genius. He had already reached the 6th stage of the Hotian realm. Did they really think I could take down Chun Tian too? To them, it seemed impossible. No matter how powerful I looked, I was still just a nobody to them. The spectators began to argue in hushed, frantic tones. But despite Chun Tian's presence, my pressure didn't waver for a second. I looked at him and thought, so what if he's at the 6th stage? Is this guy your father? Is that why you're so eager to protect him? I kept my boot firmly planted on Li Tai's chest while I spoke. I threw a freezing stare directly at Chun Tian. On the surface, I shouldn't have had the confidence to face a 6th stage expert, but I had already mastered the sword stance. Combined with my high-level martial arts, I knew I had the edge. I felt a surge of absolute certainty within me. Seeing my lack of fear, Chun Tian's arrogant expression completely froze. This kid clearly doesn't know who I am. I see it's time someone taught you a lesson. Chun Tian said in a voice as cold as ice. He moved to kick me directly out of the way. He shoved Li Tai aside and said he wanted to see what made me so special. Li Tai's face twisted into a smug, ugly grin. Chun Tian let out a sharp, mocking laugh. This guy? He talks way too much. What's the matter, young Master Chun? Want to abuse your power? Just as we were about to clash, a familiar figure appeared. She had been watching from a spot that was hard to notice. It was Su Qingxue. She finally spoke up. She walked straight over to the center of the confrontation. She stood right by my side, her presence commanding. Her eyes were locked onto Chun Tian with pure intensity. Little brother, you did great. That Li Tai talks like his mouth is full of filth. He deserves to be punished severely. Su Qingxue looked at me and offered her praise openly. I blinked in surprise and gave her a friendly smile back. Whatever happens, since Su Qingxue is willing to back me up, I'm in the clear. Suddenly, a solemn voice echoed from the distance, cutting through the noise of the crowd. Wang Shun walked slowly toward the plaza, his presence demanding immediate silence. No one wanted to leave a bad impression on the examiner by making a scene. Chun Tian shot me one last glare, let out a cold snort, and finally looked away. I am Wang Shun, leader of the Wind Chase Hall of the Tianmu Association. I am the one responsible for this evaluation. There are only 10 spots available for new members this time. That means 95% of you will be eliminated, Wang Shun said flatly. A wave of shock hit the crowd. A 95% failure rate was terrifying. Everyone here was a talented martial artist under the age of 18. They had already fought their way through thousands just to stand in this plaza. And now, they had to fight for a handful of spots. My expression didn't change as I crunched the numbers in my head. Top 5%, I should be just fine. I scanned the plaza and noticed most of the students were low-level warriors. The majority were still below the 4th level of the Hotian realm. There weren't many who had actually reached the peak of Hotian power. As long as I stayed above the 4th level, my chances of passing were high. I kept my eyes on the crowd, silently measuring my competition. Wang Shun looked at me and noticed I didn't show a hint of fear or hostility. Once the evaluation begins, there is no backing out, Wang Shun continued. A wave of unease rippled through the crowd at the mention of that 95% failure rate. Many candidates looked around with hostile eyes, weighing whether they should just quit now. The pressure started to mount immediately. Those who knew they weren't strong enough began to withdraw, including Li Tai. The guy I had just clashed with was being led away from the plaza. As Li Tai was escorted out, his eyes remained locked onto mine. He looked like he wanted to kill me with a single glare. I didn't give him the satisfaction of a reaction. I just ignored him. Wang Shun watched the quitters leave with a blank expression, saying nothing. Finally, the plaza was cleared of the doubters. Very well, since no one else is leaving, the evaluation begins now, Wang Shun announced. The plaza erupted into a fresh burst of nervous energy. The first part is a test of raw strength. Only 80 of you will move on. He got straight to the point without wasting a second. The staff brought out an advanced strength tester and set it before us. No martial techniques allowed. You can only use your own physical power. Rely on your blood and energy alone. Anyone caught using a technique is disqualified. The crowd grew solemn. This was a pure test of our foundation. The rule was meant to stop geniuses from relying on high-intensity martial techniques. After all, the techniques used by those from elite families are on a different level. Their secret arts are far more powerful than anything a commoner could find. By banning them, it gave those of us from humble origins a fighting chance. I looked down at my hands, feeling the power humming beneath my skin. The crowd around me shifted with impatient energy, and I felt a surge of excitement. I thought to myself, finally, it's starting. It didn't take long for the first name to be called. The evaluation officially began as the staff pulled out the registration forms. They started calling us up one by one to face the machine. They were going in alphabetical order, and the first name echoed across the plaza. Lin Yin, step up to the platform for your test, the official commanded. The staff cleared a path for him. A man in a black jacket stepped up and threw a heavy punch. Boom. His fist slammed into the strength tester with a dull thud. Lin Yin, 6,000 kilograms. Next, Wang Xia, 6,100 kilograms. The testing continued with high intensity, the atmosphere growing more suffocating by the second. I watched closely as each warrior took their turn at the machine. Most of these low-level warriors were hitting around the 6,000 kilogram mark. Only a small handful of the truly gifted managed to reach 7,500 kilograms. I looked around and realized Wang seemed to be lost in the crowd. I thought to myself that passing this shouldn't be a problem at all. This strength test was just the beginning. Next, Wang Xia, the official, shouted at the top of his lungs. I took a deep breath as the staff member gestured for me to step forward. Is it finally my turn? I thought, immediately stepping onto the stage. Whispers broke out. So this is Wang Xia. He's the one who slapped Li Di and sent him flying? Is it really him? That name sounds familiar. Wait, didn't someone kill the Li family's young lady recently? The rumors were spreading through the crowd like a wildfire. Could it really be this Wang Xia? Damn, it's very possible. Nearby, a man's eyes flashed with interest as he watched me. The man who killed Li Lan. Interesting. I didn't expect him to be so fearless. He leaned back in his seat, watching the spectacle unfold with a smirk. In the distance, a white-haired elder stared at the gate in silence. He watched me on the testing field, his veins pulsing with suppressed rage. This is the brat who made my grandson throw such a fit, he muttered. I've been waiting for a long time. I'll wait for the perfect opportunity. I'll catch you and let my grandson vent all his frustrations on your skin. Chen Kuan's gaze was ice cold as he locked his eyes onto me. I stepped up onto the testing platform. I took a deep breath and felt my blood power surge through me. I threw a heavy punch. The meter flashed 9,000 kilograms. The staff member stared at the display, his pupils shrinking in shock. He muttered about how terrifying I was, making the crowd grow uneasy. They couldn't believe their eyes. 9,000 kilograms? I'm at the third Hotian level and only hit 6,000. Is the machine broken? The numbers were simply scandalous. How old is this kid? Could he already be a mid-level warrior? It didn't seem possible. The raw strength of a Hotian warrior is not something just anyone can handle, especially not a youth like this. I looked like a complete dark horse appearing out of nowhere. A mid-level fighter's strength usually exceeds 10,000 kilograms. By that logic, I had to be a high-level talent, or at least a peak low-level one. Everyone present was stunned by the power I had just displayed. 9,000 kilograms of pure force. It was the highest record of the day so far. The staff member couldn't take his eyes off me as I stood on the platform. He stood there frozen, unable to look away. He felt a wave of unease. 9,000 kilograms was insane. Based on my aura, I was clearly still in the early stages of cultivation. I hadn't even crossed the Hotian mid-stage yet, and the observers noticed it too. The stands in the distance were buzzing with pure excitement. The crowd knew exactly what this meant. The machine wasn't the problem. They realized my cultivation realm was actually quite low. I was only at the first stage of the Hotian realm. The strength of a first-stage warrior is usually nothing special. But for a first-stage Hotian like me to hit that hard, to possess such a terrifying level of raw power, it made me look like an absolute monster. No way, that's impossible, someone screamed from the crowd. Up in the VIP box, the atmosphere shifted instantly. They saw a potential in me that was off the charts. It was enormous, the kind of talent you only see once in a lifetime. They were already thinking about how to get me to join the Tianhua Club. A sharp, calculating light flickered in Cheng Hong's eyes. He watched me with a cold, weighing gaze while Jinshin just looked on with disdain. He had a look of pure arrogance on his face, thinking, it's just 9,000 kilograms. I can easily pull numbers between 10 and 20,000. To him, everyone else was just a bunch of useless nobodies. His own record was already sitting at 14,000 kilograms. 14,000, a number most could only dream of. Next up, Jinshin, the official, called out. The crowd kept whispering about how he was a fifth-stage Hotian warrior. For someone at his level, hitting 14,000 wasn't even a challenge. But people forgot that I was only 16 and still in the first stage of Hotian. Jinshin stepped up, that same look of disdain plastered on his face. He acted like taking first place was already a foregone conclusion. He didn't even bother to brace himself or prepare his stance. With a casual flick of his wrist, he threw a lazy punch that hit with a deafening boom. The display flashed. Jinshin, 20,000 kilograms. Next, Nightingale, the staff member announced, moving down the list. I stared at the screen, wondering if this was the true power of a mid-level warrior. A single, effortless strike had just dealt 20,000 kilograms of force. I kept my eyes locked on Jinshin as he stood there on the platform. He looked down at everyone like they were insects. I watched him silently, my mind already racing with my next move. My god, Jinshin is absolutely terrifying. Once the results were processed, the rankings shifted completely. A force of 20,000 kilograms is no small feat. That's more than what some advanced fighters can put out. Yeah, it's just too over the top. I thought Wang Yu was powerful enough on his own. I didn't expect this Jinshin kid to be such a monster on the battlefield. It looks like Jinshin has already secured his spot in the Celestial Dance Assembly. Are you talking nonsense? If Jinshin can't make the cut, then who else can? I kept my eyes fixed on Jinshin up on the stage. I could feel a heavy weight pressing down on my chest. This Jinshin, he's pure pressure. He's clearly only one level above me, but his power, his strength is 6,000 kilograms higher, and his body seems even more durable. And the worst part? He hasn't even used his full potential yet. He wasn't even trying. Jinshin stepped down from the stage and took his seat. He shot me a look of pure disdain. Up in the VIP box, Chung Hong watched his young master. Seeing Jinshin hit 20,000 kilograms made him feel incredibly smug. No matter how powerful that little bastard Wang Yu is, so what? If he ever crosses paths with our young pavilion master, he'll be ripped to shreds in minutes. Jinshin's appearance pushed the atmosphere to a fever pitch. The fighters who followed were mostly low-level, averaging around 6,000 kilograms. Finally, the evaluation came to an end. The crowd in the plaza waited with bated breath. The staff didn't waste a single second of our time. They stepped forward to make the official announcement. The final rankings were posted quickly for everyone to see. These were the names of the few who survived the first round. The first cut of the evaluation was brutal. Li Te, Lu Shanshan, and then my name, Wang Yu. As the names were read, the failures began to clear out. They walked off the plaza with their heads hanging low. In no time, the massive crowd had completely thinned out. Only 80 contestants remained standing in the center. We waited for the next phase of the evaluation to begin. The tension was thick as the official stepped back into the spotlight. He looked at us and said, "You are all young geniuses. Congratulations on passing." But the first evaluation was just the beginning. After all, the Celestial Dance Assembly is about more than just numbers. Actual combat capability is what truly matters in this world. Raw strength is useless if you can't apply it. We have no room for useless people here. The second evaluation is straightforward. There will be 3 rounds of combat where you fight one-on-one. If you win 3 times in a row, you pass the test. You'll earn a spot on our association's reserve team. The Tianghua solution is simple. If you lose, you're out. Round 1. Senna spoke up, her voice cutting through the air. Wang Sheng's celebration sent a wave of excitement through the crowd. My blood started to boil. A true warrior lives for the fight. I took a deep breath, knowing that as long as I didn't face Chen Tian, I'd be fine. Immediately after the announcement, everyone began to move. We marched toward the other side of the plaza. I was ready, following the crowd with my guard up. Suddenly, I felt a gaze coming from the VIP box nearby. I turned my head and spotted an old man with white hair. I thought, damn, what is that old man's problem? I hadn't even offended him, so why was he staring me down? That cold, piercing look actually made me feel a bit nervous. I realized he was the 3rd elder of the Lynx Pavilion, the grandfather of the man I killed. No wonder he wants me dead. His grandson's killer was standing right in front of him. I blinked, snapping out of my thoughts. I still haven't settled the score with that old man from the Lynx Pavilion. I looked at Su and said, "Thanks for the reminder, Brother Su. I get it." Su smiled back at me and said, "Brother Wang Yu, don't worry, not with the kind of strength you have. You're a lock for this. You can definitely pass this test. Once you become a reserve member of the Tianbu Association, that old man will be forced to just watch you helplessly." Su kept laughing, clearly thinking it was better to stay on my good side. He knew the value of being friends with a genius like me, and honestly, there was nothing wrong with that. I nodded in approval, knowing he was right about the situation. As long as I pass this test, that old fossil, he won't have any way to touch me. Besides, with how fast I'm leveling up, I estimate it won't be long before I can clear my own path. I'll eventually topple the Lynx Pavilion myself, and they won't be able to do a damn thing. Soon, I'll be the one calling the shots. We were led to the edge of the ring for the first match, Chen Tian's turn. The second match was set. The staff announced the combat rounds, Slyusian versus Shunliang. My next opponent was Jiang Xiao. I listened to the announcement and started running the numbers in my head. The display began showing Jiang Xiao's power level, which was only 7,100. With stats like that, I should be able to squeeze him out. It would be an easy win. When I looked at the bracket, I realized I had nothing to worry about. As long as I didn't have to face Chen Tian yet, there shouldn't be any problems at all. Immediately after, the tension in the room spiked. The battle in the arena began, and the moment Chen Tian stepped up, he annihilated his opponent. It was over in seconds with zero suspense. Everyone watching finally understood the true depth of Chen Tian's strength. I watched the fight closely, gathering as much information as I could. Their martial arts mastery wasn't on my level, but their practical experience was high. The way they angled their strikes was worth learning from, and I felt a surge of excitement. The matches continued, with dazzling techniques and powerful attacks lighting up the arena. The air was thick with the heavy, electric atmosphere of elite combat. The atmosphere was absolutely terrifying. Jiang Shao stood there with a proud but ugly expression on his face. He had been watching from the sidelines while I dealt with the others. I thought, getting hit by him would be like taking a hammer to the chest, but I'm already here. Jiang Shao steeled his resolve as we both stepped onto the stage under everyone's gaze. Chapter 21, The Battle Against Lin Nan. We both took our positions, and the fight began. Once we were both in place, the referee signaled the start with a wave of his hand. The announcement rang out, followed by a massive boom. I didn't waste a second and moved in directly. I threw a punch, channeling a massive surge of blood power through my arm. The energy gathered in my body as I closed the distance to Jiang Shao. His face turned pale instantly. He looked at me like I was some kind of wild beast and shouted, "I surrender." My fist hadn't even reached him yet. But Jiang Shao knew he couldn't block a strike like that, leaving the crowd in shock. People started whispering that Jiang Shao was a coward for giving up before the first hit. I frowned and pulled back my blood power since the match was already over. The referee announced my victory, and I walked off the stage as time ticked by. My next opponent also surrendered immediately after seeing my 5th level strength. Facing a Hoteon Realm Master is no joke, so the first round ended right then and there. The second round began. Qintian's opponent surrendered immediately after a single exchange. Then it was my turn for the second round. The fight started, but my opponent couldn't even withstand one of my punches. It was an instant knockout, moving me straight to the final match of the third round. The official announcement rang out, Wang Yu versus Lin Long. Every eye in the arena shifted toward me. So my final hurdle was this Lin Long guy? I started recalling the data I had on him from the first evaluation. He was the only one left standing between me and the top spot. I thought, his record was only 7,600 kilograms. Is this going to be another instant kill? I complained to myself, hoping for at least one fierce battle to test my limits. I suspected there might be something fishy about how he even made it this far. Not far away, Wang Sheng suddenly let out a loud sneeze. He rubbed his nose and muttered, "Who the hell is cursing me right now?" Wang Sheng watched me take the stage, his eyes practically sparkling with excitement. A 16-year-old talent like this in a small place like Jianglin City was a miracle. He knew that if he trained me right, I wouldn't just be beating local thugs. He was already imagining the glory I would bring to the pavilion. I raised an eyebrow at my opponent and thought, as you wish, let's get this over with. It happened in an instant. The second the referee made the announcement, we both charged straight for the center. A massive collision, a heavy thud. My fist connected with Lin Long's frame. The impact echoed through the arena as I struck his body, but his expression didn't even flicker. Lin Long didn't flinch, and his own fist came swinging back at me. He landed a clean hit, a solid blow. I felt the impact rattle my bones. I was sent flying back by the sheer momentum. I skidded back 2 steps, my eyes burning as I glared at him. So, you've been hiding your real strength. That terrifying power was definitely way beyond 7,000 kilograms. It might even be touching the 10,000 kilograms mark. My talent lets me burst my combat power for a short time. Wang Yu, you'd better be careful, he warned. I'm done playing around, Lin Long explained as he shifted his stance. His body blurred as he lunged toward me again with incredible speed. I couldn't believe Lin Long was this fast. This level of power, it was too much. He had far surpassed the early stages of the Hoteon realm. Unfortunately for me, Lin Long had been hiding a monster inside him. The crowd started whispering that I was finally in over my head. Lin Long's true strength was finally coming to light. His power had spiked several times over in an instant. The crowd whispered that I was finished, a genius like me, gone too soon. They thought I'd finally run into someone I couldn't handle. Seeing Lin Long's sudden surge of strength, the spectators below the stage erupted into a frenzy. Everyone was frozen, completely stunned that Lin Long had been hiding a trump card like this. Up in the VIP box, Chen Hong watched Lin Long, growing stronger on the thunder platform, his heart swelling with joy. "Little chef, once you fail this evaluation, it's the end for you," he sneered. Wang Sheng watched the battle, feeling a wave of hesitation. He knew he should have arranged a weaker opponent for me. Even as a hall leader in the Tiangu Association, Wang Sheng had to follow the strict rules and regulations. He couldn't just show me blatant favoritism. He didn't have the power to just let me walk into the association. Every single person joining the Tiangu Association must pass a rigorous evaluation. It wasn't a decision that could be made on a whim. A single word from a hall leader wasn't enough. Unless, of course, you were an elder, but that was a different story. Forget it. If I make it, I'm lucky. If I fail, it's just fate, Wang Xing thought, trying to console himself. A brilliant genius will shine wherever he goes, even without my Tiangu Association. With my talent, I could create my own heaven, and naturally, I'd succeed. Lin Long had no idea that Wang Sheng was already losing faith in him. After his talent upgrade, Lin Long's strength exploded to a whole new level. He stayed glued to me during the fight, making it look like the match was already over. Lin Long's current power had likely reached the 4th level of the Hoteon realm. Against a monster like that, ordinary attacks were useless. It was obvious that standard moves wouldn't be enough. I wasn't going to defeat him like this. If that's how it's going to be, then so be it. I suppressed the rising disdain in my heart. I began circulating the original force in my body, activating the Vajra Sutra. The power surged through me, unrestrained and free. My entire body was suddenly enveloped in a blinding, golden light. In just a split second, I felt my strength skyrocket out of nowhere. Everything changed in that single moment. My ethereal step had evolved into a true, life-sustaining step. My body felt weightless, as if I were floating through the air. I drifted across the field like a fallen leaf, making Lin Long's heavy strikes look clumsy. He couldn't even graze my skin, and he stared at me in pure shock. I was radiating an intense golden light that seemed to rattle his very soul. How is this possible? He probably thought. Could it be that I, Wang Yu, possessed hidden martial arts or secret talents that could boost my strength this drastically? Lin Long grit his teeth in frustration. He pushed the original force in his body to its absolute limit. He moved faster, desperately trying to suppress me with raw speed. He lunged at me once again, but no matter how many times he attacked, he couldn't land a single blow. I was becoming a nightmare he would never be able to forget. My movements were as fluid as a rushing stream. I was like the wind, always right in front of him, yet completely out of his reach. Slowly, the aura surrounding Lin Long's body began to flicker. His energy was starting to flag. The golden light continued to pulse around me. My entire body felt like it was vibrating with power. This wasn't just some low-level enlightenment. It was perfect, absurdly so, but there was something even more shocking about my movement. Lin Long couldn't even graze my clothes because of my footwork. That ethereal step of mine, it had reached a level beyond mastery. It was transcendent. The crowd watched in terror, realizing how dangerous I had become. Most warriors don't have a single technique at a perfect level. Yet here I was, having pushed my skills even further, to the transcendent stage, sparking a heated frenzy among the spectators. Below the stage, Sushan stared at me with pure excitement. He knew Lin Long's strength was nearly equal to his own, yet I was suppressing him with zero effort. He even joked about introducing me to his sister just to get some pointers. Meanwhile, Chen Tian's face grew darker by the second. I took my 8th step forward. The criteria for the transcendent level combined with this enlightenment. It completely shattered the limits of the perfect rank. Of course, Chen Tian knows exactly what kind of power this represents. He knows the sheer amount of spiritual energy required to sustain it. This was it. The final conclusion. There was no one else like me. Right now, I didn't just have one superior art at my disposal. Every bit of my cultivation was screaming with power. Everything had been activated to the highest possible level. Perfect. Chapter 20. Double Transcendence. The realization sent a shockwave of terror through the audience. As for reaching the transcendent level, Chen Tian never imagined it possible. He never thought anyone could actually cultivate to this height. Chen Fo, watching from the distant VIP box, wore a grim expression. The talents of this little beast are absolutely terrifying. This scene, it's a once-in-a-lifetime display of dominance. It's simply too incredible. The general's lineage is about to produce a true, soaring dragon. Wang Xin stood off to the side, watching in silence. He was floored. Wang Yu, had given him more than he ever expected. A 16-year-old with transcendent-level martial arts? Even the original martial god, Lin Tian, wasn't this strong at that age. Xin felt like he was trapped in a surreal dream. He truly thought the general's lineage had nothing left. He never expected to find a true treasure like me. Fine, I'll end this with one final strike, the spirit dragon roared. His origin power surged through his body, condensing into a terrifying force. His right hand erupted in raging flames, vaporizing the falling rain. The temperature in the arena began to spike instantly. It felt like standing inside a furnace. Then, suddenly, Princess Wan's eyes narrowed with sharp focus. Her pupils shrank as she realized he was finally making his big move. Luo Yun Palm, she cried, her origin power condensing in her hand. A massive roar shook the very air around them. A colossal skeletal manifestation began to appear. A giant palm print slammed into existence. It hung in the sky, dominating everything beneath it. The spirit dragon's flame sword flickered with a hint of desperation as the impact hit him. The massive force slammed directly into his chest. The origin power within his body was extinguished in an instant. A heartbeat later, the sheer pressure of the strike blew him backward. He was hurled out of the ring by another god-level technique, the Luo Yun Palm. I thought to myself, this kid is basically a walking cheat code. The crowd was stunned, unable to accept that a human could be this different from them. The gap between us was just too wide to ignore. 2 god-level martial arts in one person? Having a perfect level martial art on top of that is just an unfair advantage. It was terrifying to witness. I felt numb. I didn't even want to think about practicing anymore. I felt unworthy to even call myself a martial artist compared to her. Princess Wan's Luo Yun Palm had silenced the entire city. The VIPs in the distance looked on with strange expressions, wondering if she was even human. I wondered if I had finally won as Princess Wan looked around. Everyone was staring at her with such intensity, it actually made her feel a little nervous. She thought, is a god-level technique really that big of a deal? I haven't even used everything yet. She realized they would lose their minds if they knew she had also mastered sword intent. To her, mastering god-level arts was as easy as breathing. After the battle, Princess One finally realized the true extent of her strength. She gained a much clearer understanding of her own power. God-level martial arts were even more devastating than she had imagined. That spirit dragon's force was already far beyond a standard triple congenital stage. She felt his power had actually brushed against the edge of the 6th Hotian level. Standing to the side, I was left completely stunned by the display. Having a divine technique is just outrageous. Even cheating isn't this broken. Princess One stood there like an angel of life who had just conquered the ring. The referee took a deep breath to steady his nerves before speaking. He prepared to announce the final result of the match. The battle was officially over, and the atmosphere in the arena shifted. As soon as the referee called out the winner, I, Wang Shun, couldn't hold back my excitement any longer. I didn't even wait. I rushed straight toward the ring. Princess One watched me charge toward her with a look of confusion. I stared at her with pure, unbridled fervor. She looked a bit spooked and thought, what is wrong with this guy? She wondered if this Tiangue master had some kind of strange obsession. I looked at her and called out, little sister. I asked her, are you willing to make a deal with me? Join our team, we. I looked at Princess One with pure enthusiasm and asked her right then and there. Unfortunately, she just stared back, completely lost. Haven't I already passed the evaluation to become a provisional member? She asked. How exactly am I supposed to join? She looked at me with total confusion written all over her face. We'll talk at the league, I said, then turned to Xiao Chun to handle the crowd. I told him to take care of the paperwork for the provisional members. I had something urgent to discuss with my little sister, Wan Nu. Without waiting for her to say a word, I grabbed her and bolted out of there. We moved so fast the crowd barely saw us leave. Everyone standing around the ring was left completely speechless. Is this how a top-tier genius gets treated? Meanwhile, Chen Hong was still watching from above. He sat frozen in the VIP box. He watched me disappear with Wan Nu in the blink of an eye. His eyes weren't full of joy like mine. They were full of something else. He was trembling with a mix of resentment and pure shock. You can call a god-level technique luck all you want. But what we just saw? That was true, undeniable talent. This Wang Nuo is a peerless genius, a true monster. Chen Hong's eyes were wide with shock and drowning in despair. He'd known about his grandson's dirty laundry for a long time. The failed confessions, the smear campaigns, even the attempts on people's lives. But my performance today was burned into Chen Hong's mind. He watched his grandson get beaten down like a stray dog. Chen Hong clenched his fists so hard his knuckles went numb. I need to introduce him to my sister right away. A genius with dual god-level martial arts mastery is too good to pass up. My sister is a beauty. She'll definitely be able to wrap Wang Nuo around her finger. Meanwhile, the official from the Lynx Pavilion led the successful candidates away. We headed to the Five Paths Alliance Hall to finalize the paperwork. Inside the hall, Princess One looked at me with pure disbelief. Master Wang Shun, are you saying I can join the Tianwu Club directly? She asked. As an official member? I nodded, knowing our club was the most powerful force on the Blue Star. You wouldn't have come to this evaluation if you didn't already know that, I told her. But doesn't your club require an innate level rank to join? She pressed. I just smiled and looked at my sister, Wang Xinyue. Those rules are for ordinary people, not for a genius with your level of insight. Princess One didn't hesitate for a second. Becoming an official member of the Tianwu Club is the best choice you could make, I told her with a smile. Believe me, you won't regret it. I began explaining the internal structure and the massive benefits of the organization. The Tianwu Club headquarters is located in the imperial capital. Branches are spread across the entire country, each with its own internal evaluation system. Aside from President Lin Tianwu himself, there are several vice presidents. These vice presidents are level 5 saints, monsters with world-renowned power. Beneath them, the hierarchy flows down through various divisions. There are 12 main branches, and under those, a total of 72 halls. It's a massive network of influence. I am officially the master of the Huifan Hall in the 7th branch. Being a Grandmaster-level expert is just the baseline for that kind of position. That's the basic layout of the club, but you don't need to worry about the politics yet, I said. What matters is that every member earns contribution points. These points can be traded for secret techniques, rare resources, or even cold hard cash. If it exists on the Blue Star, the Tianwu Club can get it for you. Since you're just joining, the club will provide you with a private villa right here in Jianglin City. You'll also get 3 C-level martial arts techniques and 1 superior cultivation method. The specific ones you want, that's entirely up to you. On top of that, you'll get a monthly subsidy of 1 million new coins for your personal expenses. I kept laying out the benefits of joining the club to Wang Yu, making sure she saw the full picture. I watched her eyes light up as I spoke. A monthly allowance. A cool 1,000,000 coins every single month. Access to C-level martial arts, a supreme cultivation method, and your own private villa. This woman was about to become one of the most important figures in our history. The deal was almost too good to be true, so I didn't need to oversell it. And remember, those are just the basic perks, I added. Our organization also offers something even more valuable. We have a massive list of missions available every day, and many of them are incredibly easy to finish. Completing them is the primary way to earn contribution points within our system. These points are the real currency here. You can trade them for almost anything. You can technically trade your coins for points too, but I wouldn't recommend it, I warned. It's a waste of resources. Every member has to complete at least 3 missions a year, or they'll be kicked out of the club. Wang Yu nodded, understanding that this was the inevitable trade-off. An organization doesn't just hand out riches for free, you have to prove your worth. I handed her a device containing all the classified information about the Tianwu Club. Everything she needed to know about redeeming techniques and climbing the ranks was in there. I told her she could complete the registration right there on the terminal. I pulled out a mechanical device and scanned it toward Wang Yu. A second later, the mechanical terminal glided through the air. It latched itself automatically onto Wang Yu's wrist. Wang Yu stared down at the device on her hand in awe. The technology felt incredibly advanced, almost like magic. The terminal was practically weightless, as if it wasn't even there. I assured her that this device wouldn't track her location or monitor her movements. It wouldn't record a single piece of her personal information. I told her she had nothing to worry about on that front. Its only purpose was to facilitate communication between members of the Tianwu Club. But that wasn't all. I explained that it also functioned as a high-end smartphone for any app she wanted. Wang Yu toyed with the terminal and realized just how powerful it was. She looked at me and asked, "Is something this advanced really possible, Mr. Wang?" Then she got straight to the point. Which cultivation technique should I choose? She knew I was the one with the ultimate expertise in these matters. Even with her natural talent, she knew she lacked my depth of knowledge. I looked at Wang Yu with a sense of deep satisfaction. She was already learning how to use the resources at her disposal effectively. I wasn't going to be stingy with her. Who wouldn't want to help a genius, especially one like her? Incomparable geniuses like Wang Yu don't come around often. I looked at her and asked directly, "What exactly is your talent?" I needed to know the specifics of her power. By understanding her gift, I could choose the perfect technique for her. She took a moment to think before answering. "My talent is that I can massively increase my cultivation speed," she explained. "Whether it's a technique or a martial art, I learn and grow extremely fast." She didn't want to explicitly mention her SSS level talent just yet. A cultivation speed 100 times faster than a normal person was simply too much. It was terrifying. Look at what happened to Li Xian right after his SSS level was revealed. I fell into deep contemplation, weighing the options for someone with that kind of speed. I told her, "I have 2 options for you. The first is the eye-clarifying creation formula." I explained that this cultivation method was relatively straightforward, but mastering its true depth would be the difficult part. It focuses on the relentless flow of life energy that sustains us. The recovery rate it provides is incredibly fast. It's also extremely effective at purging sickness from the body, and it heals injuries instantly. The other option is the 3-turn yuan method. This second path is incredibly difficult. You have to cultivate every single realm 3 times over before you can truly master it. Only then are you allowed to advance to the next level. But the raw destructive power it grants is something that simply cannot be ignored. It turns your energy into a weapon of pure devastation. It's extremely potent, nearly triple the strength of standard yuan energy. It makes an ordinary fighter look like a child. Both of these methods can be cultivated right here at the Academy. They will take you all the way up to the Grandmaster realm. There are advanced techniques to go even further beyond that level, but those require you to trade in your contribution points. Wang Yu stood there, weighing the pros and cons of the eye-clarifying formula versus the 3-turn yuan method. One could restore her own health and heal those around her. The other offered nothing but sheer, overwhelming destructive power. She looked torn, clearly struggling with the weight of the decision. The psychological pressure of choosing her future path was getting to her. She looked up at me and said, "Professor Wang Xian, which one do you honestly think I should choose? I really want to make the right move here, but I'm having a hard time deciding on my own." Wang Yu scratched her head, looking completely lost. I watched her, my eyes filled with a sense of pride and approval. I honestly thought she would have jumped at the chance to choose the most aggressive path immediately. The 3-turn yuan method was a perfect match for someone with her explosive potential. After everything I saw during the IFA trials, it was clear that Wang Yu's nature is incredibly fiery. The raw destructive power of that method is so intense that I expected her to be hooked instantly, but she surprised me by asking for advice. Not bad at all. She's thinking ahead. I looked at her and said, "I suggest you go with the eye-clarifying formula. Even though this method doesn't focus on building a data system or providing a specific type of lethal, offensive force, it offers something much more valuable in the long run. Its recovery capabilities are second to none. It will allow you to build an unbreakable foundation for your future. As for destructive power, your martial arts cultivation speed is already elite. You can make up the difference with techniques later. After all, you can't attack if you're dead." I smiled as she nodded, knowing I could always copy other talents to fill the gaps later. Wang Yu didn't hesitate and immediately redeemed the eye-clarifying formula on her terminal. I gave her a few more pointers about the Tianbu Association before telling her it was time to head out. When it came to her martial arts selection, I trusted that Wang Yu could make the right choice on her own. I knew she had the intuition to pick what suited her best, and she wouldn't let me down. With her talent, mastering a high-rank martial skill would be easy, even if she had to do it with her eyes closed. There was no doubt in my mind. Everything was going to be just fine. "Excuse me, are you Miss Wang Yu?" A voice called out. "I am your new assistant. Your personal assistant. My name is Qin Chuan. You can entrust me with any direct matters you need handled." He stepped up right next to Wang Yu. He was a refined-looking young man, appearing to be in his early 20s. This guy had been waiting for Wang Yu right at the entrance of the association. The moment she stepped outside, he approached her directly. "A personal assistant? Good grief. This Tianbu association is incredible," I thought, as Wang Yu stared at the young man in shock. I could see right through him. This assistant was a warrior at the 9th level of body tempering. Using a high-level warrior as a mere servant? Not bad at all. Wang Yu turned to him and said, "Brother Qin, take me there now. I want to see the villa the association prepared for me." She was practically vibrating with energy. My sister was clearly thrilled about her new luxury living quarters. Qin Chuan nodded respectfully and led her out of the Tianbu Association headquarters. But the moment we stepped outside, we hit a wall of people. A massive crowd was waiting right at the entrance, eyes locked on us. "That's her. That's Wang Yu, the one with the SSS rank divine martial skill. She's so young. Is she even an adult yet? I heard she's only 16. Then, someone shouted the most important detail. "And she doesn't have a boyfriend. A genius this powerful, and she's single? I have to save her from loneliness." "Wake up, pal," another guy shot back. "You're a dude. You can't save her." "Fine, I confess. I have a sister I can set her up with." The crowd was losing its mind all across the island, swarming the very gates of the association just to catch a glimpse of her. Everyone stared at Wang Yu in awe, wondering how long it had been since a genius like her appeared. Even compared to a powerhouse like Shen Tian, there was no contest. There was simply no comparison between the two of them. Shen Tian is already 18, while Wang Yu is only 16. And that wasn't even the biggest difference. Wang Yu has mastered an SSS rank divine martial skill. That fact alone was enough to crush Shen Tian's reputation completely. I watched as Wang Yu looked at the gawking crowd, feeling a strange sense of unease. Is a 16-year-old warrior with an SSS skill really that terrifying to them? Wang Yu decided to ignore the massive crowd of onlookers. Instead, she followed Qin Chuan directly toward the Tianbu Association villa. "That's right, I still have to handle things for my sister." Wang Yu remembered her priorities and signaled to our guide. I headed out with Qin Chuan, going straight to the hotel where we had been staying. We needed to pick up our belongings from our previous room. It was time to leave that place behind for good. Chapter 24, Su Qingyan. Back in Gemini City. Inside the residence of the Su family, Su Qingyan sat with a terminal in her hands, her eyes fixed on the screen. It was obvious her terminal wasn't nearly as advanced as my sister's. "Congratulations on passing the Tiangu Association Reserve Member Selection," a melodic voice rang out. A beautiful girl appeared, her face exquisite and her presence like a fine violin. She walked through the hall with light steps, her delicate figure moving with grace. Her cold temperament was so striking it made the world around her seem to lose its color. "Sister, I met a particularly powerful young man during the evaluation. Do you want me to introduce you? If you let this pass, you won't get another chance." Su Qingyan looked at her beautiful sister standing before her, her eyes widening slightly. The girl's eyes lit up as she continued to speak. Su Qingyan frowned, the memory of when I awakened my talent flashing through her mind. She wondered how I was doing, thinking to herself, "Forget it, brother. You should focus on your own cultivation. I don't want to think about those things right now." The younger sister sighed and spoke in a low, serious voice. "Sister, I'm really not joking with you this time. He possesses a dual-domain divine martial art. He is a genius without equal, and he's only 16 years old. His future potential is absolutely limitless. Furthermore, he's undeniably handsome. I'm talking top-tier looks." Su Qingyan didn't show even the slightest hint of interest. Seeing her lack of reaction, her sister kept trying to persuade her. Su Qingyan truly had a lot of faith in her team. And among that group, her relationship with me was supposed to be the strongest. I should have been her solid foundation, right? She imagined a future where I became her support system. Then she could ask me for direct guidance on her martial arts. She wouldn't just be another face lost in history. Coming from the same place, Su Qingyan looked genuinely surprised. 16 years old with a dual-domain divine martial art? That kind of talent was peerless, and Su Qingyan's expression finally shifted. Her sister noticed the change and pressed her advantage. "Sister, he's in high demand right now, and I still have some influence with him. Once he truly takes off and reaches the top, I'll be completely powerless to help you." Su Qingyan narrowed her eyes as an old memory resurfaced in her mind. It was a cold autumn night. Su Qingyan was only 6 years old and all alone. She was standing outside the playground in the dark. I was in the city center back then. It was a different time. Life wasn't as moving or beautiful as it is now. The other kids used to gang up on her and bully her constantly. They were always stealing her things and pushing her around. They even yanked on her braids. But Su Qingyan has always been stubborn. She was competitive even as a child, so she never told a soul about the abuse. It was a rainy night when that group of kids finally tore her beautiful braids loose. They snatched away her favorite sheep doll, but then a dirty little boy rushed in. He tried to grab Su Qingyan's doll back, but how could one boy beat a whole crowd? He took a brutal beating, yet he refused to give up, attacking them again and again. She stood to the side crying, begging them to stop hitting him, but they wouldn't listen. Su Qingyan doesn't remember how many times he got back up. She only remembers the moon drifting across the sky as the hours passed. Eventually, the bullies either got tired of fighting or were terrified by the boy's sheer cruelty. They finally threw the sheepdoll back at them. The boy was covered in cuts and bruises, looking like he'd barely survived. Still, he handed her the doll with a smile and carefully fixed her braid. After that night, those kids never dared to bully her again. Su Qingyan never saw that boy again, but she never stopped looking for him. After endless searching, Su Qingyan finally uncovered the boy's identity. It was me, Wang Yu. But back then, I supposedly had no talent for martial arts. As the eldest daughter of the Su family, she knew the risks of that world. She wanted me to stay an ordinary person, far away from the danger of the martial arts path. I'll reach the peak of my dance through my own hard work, she told her brother. Su Qingyan's brother, Su Qingyan, sighed softly at her stubbornness. Since you put it that way, I guess you really aren't interested, he said. Fine, then just forget I mentioned it. But didn't you see Wang Yu's last light cloud palm technique? The strength behind it was absolutely incredible. Su Qingyan froze the moment she heard those words. The name Wang Yu and the falling cloud palm echoed in her mind. It hit her like a thunderbolt. It had to be me. Su Qingyan's brother saw her suddenly staring at him with desperate eyes. He looked back at her, his face full of confusion. Brother, hurry up and tell me everything, she urged him. Her expression was a mix of shock and longing. He then described my last battle to her in agonizing detail. She gripped his arm, asking if he was certain I used the falling cloud palm. I still remember that this universe belongs to humanity. Su Qingyan's entire body began to tremble as the realization hit her. Could it really be Wang Yu? She couldn't believe it. Without wasting a second, Su Qingyan whipped out her phone. She pulled up a photo, her voice shaking as she asked, "Is this the Wang Yu you saw?" Her brother took the phone and glanced at the screen, surprised she had a photo of him. "Yeah, that's him," he confirmed. "That's Wang Yu." She let out a faint, breathless laugh, her eyes welling up with tears. The emotions she had suppressed for so long were finally overflowing. "Brother, are you sure this is our new home?" Wang Xinjue asked, staring at the luxury. She stood frozen in front of the massive villa. It had a sprawling pool and a garden that looked like a dream. She looked at me, her eyes wide with pure shock. I simply nodded and gave her a confident smile. "That's right," I told her. "I'm a member of the Heavenly Dance Association now. In my world now, a villa like this was just the beginning." Xinjue didn't even wait for me to finish before she started running around. She was too busy exploring every inch of the property to listen to my explanations. She raced through the halls of the villa like a kid in a candy store. Chen Chuan stepped forward and handed me the city residency permits and the villa deeds. With a look of deep respect, Chen Chuan held out a stack of documents. I took them from him and reviewed every page to make sure everything was in order. Once I saw nothing was missing, I tucked the paperwork away safely. I never imagined that a guy like me would actually own a place like this. I stood there for a moment, just staring at the luxury of my new home. A wave of pure satisfaction washed over me. But at the same time, my ambition started to burn even hotter. It's simple. With enough power, you can have anything you want in this world. I decided to spend the rest of the day relaxing at the villa. I just wanted to enjoy some quality time with my sister in our new house. No training, no cultivation, just eating and having a good time. I didn't practice a single technique or dance move all day. I just lived my life. Chapter 25, The Second Breakthrough. The next morning arrived. I woke up early, feeling refreshed and ready. After washing up and eating breakfast, I headed straight for the training hall. The villa even came with its own private workspace. It had an attached training room perfectly suited for practicing my techniques. I pulled out the light and subtle condensation manual I had recently redeemed. It had been delivered directly to the villa, and now it was time to master it. Following the energy circulation paths described in the manual, I carefully guided the origin force through my body. After tracing the flow, I finally grasped the core routes of the technique. The light and subtle condensation method was now in motion. As the energy circulated slowly, the essence from the heavens began to stir. I felt it being drawn in and absorbed directly into my core. Wasn't this light and subtle condensation technique supposed to be difficult? Why did the instructions make it sound so incredibly complex? I found success the moment I started, and my cultivation speed was soaring. The rate of absorption was unlike anything I had felt before. I stood there stunned by the sheer amount of essential energy flowing in. Back when I used the basic body strengthening technique, the progress was pathetic. It moved like a snail, but this new technique is absolutely incredible. I could feel the origin force racing through my veins at lightning speed. My heart surged with joy, remembering I also had 10 grams of energy pills. I thought, let's see just how effective these really are. I pulled out a small bottle and poured the energy pills into my hand. I looked at the glowing medicine sitting in my palm. These essential energy pills were supposed to be the real deal. I swallowed one, waiting for the power to kick in. The texture was strange, almost like chewing gum. I tossed the pills into my mouth without hesitation. I chewed them a few times and swallowed the bitter mass. The moment the pill hit my stomach, I felt my origin force ignite. It felt as if someone had just poured high-grade gasoline directly into my internal engine, making my energy surge. I didn't let myself get distracted and focused entirely on circulating the force. I pushed the energy through my meridians with everything I had. After an hour of intense concentration, the pill's essence was finally completely absorbed into my system. Faint, shimmering cloud patterns began to manifest on the essential energy seed deep within my body. The number of cloud veins on the seed determines a warrior's true standing. Condensing 2 cloud veins meant I had officially reached Hothian level 2. I was climbing the ranks faster than I ever imagined. Reaching 3 cloud veins would mean hitting level 3. But I knew the process of condensing these veins would only get more difficult as I progressed further. The amount of origin force required for the next step was going to be massive. The difficulty spike was massive. Hodion cultivation was proving to be incredibly brutal. I felt like I was hitting a wall, but I didn't stop. The energy from the pills inside my body, it just wasn't enough anymore. Not by a long shot. To make matters worse, I hadn't even managed to condense a single new cloud vein. I grit my teeth and made a move. I kept swallowing the pills, one after another. Another UNC pill went down the hatch. Still no breakthrough. This was getting ridiculous. It was absurd. I could only feel that one lonely cloud vein clinging to my origin force seed. I couldn't help but curse. I'd already burned 3 pills for that first vein. I expected the next one to form immediately, but I was dead wrong. I had already gone through 6 full pills. I was pushing myself nonstop, yet the second vein wouldn't appear. This is a bottomless pit. If anyone saw how I was burning resources, they would be absolutely shocked. Most people take an entire week to absorb a single UNC pill if their talent is lacking. After all, they usually rely more on the natural energy of heaven and earth. A single UNC pill costs a staggering 100,000 credits. How could an ordinary family ever afford to burn through them like this? But here I was, refining one every single hour according to my cultivation method. I stared at the last pill and thought, if I don't break through now, I'm done for the day. Just one left. Frustrated, I swallowed the final pill and braced myself for the impact. A massive wave of raw power exploded inside me. My origin force began to circulate violently through my veins. I focused every ounce of my will on the pill's energy. I pushed the snow formula to its absolute limit. The creation art started to hum with intensity. I was constantly absorbing every scrap of energy I could find. My origin force was screaming for more. My entire body began to glow with a strange light. A faint, radiant aura enveloped my skin. 1 hour passed in what felt like a second. Suddenly, a tyrannical aura erupted from deep within my core. I felt the power of Wang Yu surging within me. The cloud pattern on the origin seed inside my body was finally complete. Congratulations to the host for breaking through to the 2nd level of Hotion. The system notification echoed in my mind as I let out a soft sigh of relief. I could feel the raw strength vibrating through my entire being. My energy reserves felt massive, and my air source was exactly where I wanted it. The power was incredible, but this cultivation method is a total nightmare. It eats through money like nothing else, and I've only just started. Reaching the 2nd level of Hotion was just the beginning. That single session cost me a staggering 1 million star credits. If I keep cultivating at this pace in the future, I'll be broke. The thought alone was enough to terrify me. I used to think 1 million credits a month was plenty of money. Now it seems that's barely enough to cover a single day of training. But I shook it off. Money is just an external tool. Strength is the only real foundation. So I whispered, open attribute panel. Name, Wang Yu. Talent, SSS rank, 100x speed body. Realm, great power. Level, 2nd level of Hodion. Technique, clear mist creation art. Sword art mastery, basic level, increasing my sword power by 50%. I looked at my martial arts stats and prepared for what came next. I scanned my commercial skills next. F rank, Tunsen level, a true life technique. Wind Cutting Sword, Grade 1 Tunsen. Misty Step, Grade 1 Perfect. And the Heavenly Duan Slash, Grade 1 Tunsen Wind Cutting Formula. Diamond Body, Grade 1 Perfect. My vital energy and blood were surging. I checked the remaining time. Until the next dungeon instance resets. 6 days left. My blood energy stats have surpassed 100, reaching 120, which means my physical strength. It has already reached 1,200. 0 kilograms of resistance left, and I'm only at the 2nd level of Hotion. I thought about Su Xin, who is already at the 5th level. If I'm this strong now, I can't even imagine my power once I hit that 5th level. I'll be just as strong as Qin Tian. I just need to wait a few more days for my next breakthrough, and then I'll kill you. It'll only take minutes. Oh, by the way, there's also Qin Xiao. I'll let him grow for a few more days. Just like that old man from the Lin family. I ignored him completely. If I don't keep moving, I'll be in danger, so I headed straight back. I arrived at the villa, ready to start my martial arts training. Even without Yuan pills, my training speed is far beyond any ordinary person's. But I've grown used to the high-speed growth those pills provide. Now, I look down on this slow, traditional method of training. Oh, that's right. I moved to the next step immediately. I opened the mid-tier rankings and looked directly at the martial arts techniques. C rank. With my terrifying training speed, it would be a total waste to keep learning those low-level martial arts. C rank techniques are usually reserved for innate masters and grandmasters. If an ordinary person tries to practice these, they'll likely fail after wasting years of their life. I scanned the mid-tier martial arts list one by one. The 9-insect blade, a C-rank art that can unleash the power of 9 insects. Once all 9 strikes are unleashed, it can execute any enemy. Then there was the Leijing Palace, a high-level martial art, the 12 martial arts, and the Mirror of Jingbo Karma. The Jima Department art, a C-rank martial art, the final step of the mysterious book, and the Lin Yun body method. All of them were high-tier techniques. I stared at these incredible, specialized arts. It felt like a cat was scratching at my heart, teasing me. I wanted to learn every single one, but I could only choose 3. I let out a heavy sigh. Chapter 26. Selecting my martial arts. Wang Shen's surprise. I sat there and reflected for a long time. Finally, I made my decision. I chose a blade technique, a movement technique, and a fist technique to ensure I'm never defenseless. I need to be able to show my full strength even when I'm unarmed. The 9-insect blade, the shadow step, and the Jinma storm fist. I decided to exchange my points for these C-rank arts. These techniques are considered extremely powerful, even among other C-rank arts, but they are notoriously difficult to master. Luckily, my cultivation speed is 100 times faster than anyone else's. There was absolutely no reason for me to worry. Whether I could master them or not wasn't even a question. I immediately pulled up the communication interface within the system. A moment later, I finalized the exchange for the mid-tier techniques. Once the transaction was complete, I didn't stop there. I purchased another 50 grams of pesto and some primal sacrifice pills. I still hadn't used the new currency Lilan gave me last time. Now was the perfect time to spend it. I needed to use every resource to push my strength to the limit. In just one day, I had mastered top-tier arts and joined the Tianbu Society. The news spread through Jiangling City like a wildfire, causing a total uproar. The Tianbu Society is the elite force of Huahua, with a threshold so high it makes commoners despair. Yet here I was, only 16 years old and already soaring into their ranks. While others my age are barely waking up, I'm reaching for the infinite realm. Back at the Lynx Pavilion in Jiangling, the guards at the gate were trembling. Their eyes twitched with pure terror. They realized that trying to capture me was nothing short of a death wish. If anything happened to a Tianbu member like me, the society would send an expert, and they would wipe the Lynx Pavilion off the face of the earth. Should they move or stay put? Was this young master really that foolish? Making the wrong choice could mean instant death. The 2 guards at the gate exchanged a heavy look. They saw the same paralyzing fear in each other's eyes. Inside the room, Shunhong stared at his grandson, who was wailing at the top of his lungs. The old man's face was a mask of exhaustion and regret. His heart was heavy with fatigue from repeating the same warning 100 times. I was someone they simply could not touch anymore. But Chen Xiao remained stubborn, screaming that I was just some 16-year-old brat. He threw a tantrum, shouting that he would become a grandmaster or a martial saint himself. Hearing his delusions of becoming a saint at 16, the guards were now certain the young master had lost his mind. Shenhong looked at the irrational boy and realized he had spoiled him far too much. "Grandson, listen to me," he sighed. "We cannot afford to stir these waters right now. But our brother Chen Tian is also in the Tianbu Society." Chen Xiao barked back. "What is there to fear? Our brother is even stronger than him." As Chen Xiao continued his frantic shouting, Shunhong fell into a grim silence. Was Xian Qi really enough? He was strong, sure, but was it enough to stop me? Shunhong narrowed his eyes, the memory of my power flashing through his mind. He couldn't forget how I dominated the Pill Alliance Plaza. "If I don't act, maybe he won't strike first," he muttered. "Forget it, just forget it. At the end of the day, I'm just an old man with one foot in the grave, but my grandson is still young." As Shunhong watched the boy, a cold, sharp glint flickered in his eyes. Over the next few days, I stayed locked away at home, focusing entirely on my martial arts and techniques. As for heading out to hunt monsters for resources, no, that wasn't the plan anymore. The easy days of the beginning were about to vanish, weren't they? I had to cultivate and grow stronger, and then the system chime rang out. Ding. Congratulations to the host for reaching the 9th stage of the C-rank new saber technique. Ding. Congratulations to the host for reaching mastery of the Phantom Shadow technique. The C-rank movement technique was finally coming along. Ding. Congratulations to the host for reaching mastery of the C-rank lightning stream technique. I was constantly grinding through various C-rank martial arts. But these C-rank techniques were proving to be a different beast entirely. They were significantly harder to master than the F-rank or rank 1 skills I used before. Back then, I could breeze through my cultivation with ease. I used to push every technique to mastery or even perfection without breaking a sweat. Even reaching the divinity level wasn't that much of a challenge. But with these new techniques, I had only managed to reach the mastery level so far. The progress was slower than I liked. I took a deep breath and finished my session. I threw a punch into the air, and a sudden surge of power erupted. A streak of lightning flashed through the room. I quickly pulled back, containing the raw origin force within my body. Just as I finished my cultivation session, my communication device chimed. It was a notification regarding my status and life force capacity. I tapped the mid-range device open, and a holographic display flickered to life. An electronic image of Guan Tianzu appeared on the screen. Then Wang Shen's figure popped up. This mid-range model's video call quality was actually impressive. About those martial arts techniques you chose, you haven't mastered the basics yet, right? Don't worry about it. After all, you've only been practicing for a few days. Many innate martial masters can't even grasp the entry level after a month of training. You must avoid arrogance and impatience, Wang Shun said in a calm, peaceful tone. I stared at the screen, my eyes widening in pure confusion. Inside, I thought, are those other martial masters actually just idiots? They couldn't even reach the entry level after 2 whole months? I had reached that level in just a few hours. Wang Shun looked at me through the device, noticing my wide-eyed expression. He probably thought his words had hit me hard and discouraged me. He opened his mouth to offer more encouragement, but I cut him off. Elder Guan, I've already mastered the entry level for all 3 techniques. I told him that all 3 techniques had already reached the entry level. Wang Shun froze in place. His eyes nearly popped out of his head as he calculated how many days I'd been training. He remembered back when he was a martial master himself. It had taken him 2 full months just to grasp a single C-rank technique. But I had mastered 3 of them in just a few days. It was beyond logic. The power of a C-rank martial art is massive, but the difficulty is just as high. Most martial artists focus their training on D-level skills instead. They usually only specialize in one single C-level martial art for their entire career. It seemed my talent was even more terrifying than he had initially imagined. He realized I was on a completely different level. Wang Shun took a deep breath and looked at me with a deadly serious expression. Wang Yu, from now on, you must never tell anyone else about your training speed. He warned me to keep my progress with these martial arts a total secret. His sudden shift in tone made the gravity of the situation clear. I understood exactly why he was being so cautious, even in the middle of the night. I nodded immediately, thinking back to that high-profile SSS level talent, Li Xian. I had already seen the consequences of what happened to him. I had no intention of following in Li Xian's footsteps and becoming a target. In this world, the monsters are far more powerful and numerous than the humans. I'll do everything I can to suppress your public profile as quickly as possible. Just focus on your training for now, and I'll send you 30 yoga pills. You'll get an extra badge every month to boost your strength as fast as you can. He was pushing me to grow at an impossible pace. Wang Shun finished his instructions, and then he cut the communication line. I realized he was doing all of this just to keep me safe. The demons in this world are known for hunting down talented martial artists. If my name starts trending and my fame grows, it's only a matter of time before some high-level demon decides to put a target on my back. Chapter 27. A new breakthrough and a surprise attack, but the day isn't over yet. The rector is a good ally, but he's still a bit of a cheapskate. 30 yuan pills? That's barely enough to keep me fueled for a few days of training. My body is like a bottomless pit when it comes to resources. Every training session I perform just devours these pills like candy. The 50 yuanqi pills I traded for a few days ago are already half gone, but 30 is better than nothing. So, I just kept going. I threw myself back into my training. Meanwhile, in a cafe not far from the villa district, a man was focused entirely on me. He sat there in the corner of the shop, peering through a high-powered telescope. He was tracking every movement in the area, waiting for an opening. Why won't this brat ever step outside? He muttered. His voice was low and raspy. He had been lurking in the shadows, staking out this spot for days on end. This man was a professional killer from the Sura Pavilion. His name was Jin Sa, and he had just taken on a major contract. 10 million star coins, all for the head of one monster. A target who was only at the early Hotian stage. The client had specifically requested Jin Sa for this job. They wanted a genius with dual mastery dead. I love breaking geniuses like this, he thought as he accepted the hit. He took the contract. Naturally, he read through the intel. The details provided by the client were thorough, but when he saw the target was connected to the Tiangu Association, Jin Sa almost turned it down right then and there. But the payout was just too high to ignore. Besides, I was just an early-stage Hotian martial artist in his eyes. No matter how much talent I had, a genius is just a corpse once his head is gone. Jin Sa himself was only a 6th-level Hotian practitioner, but his talent was rare and incredibly dangerous. He belonged to the shadow system. He could merge into the darkness to vanish completely. He could even manipulate his own shadow to strike from the dark. The shadow only possessed half the strength of his main body, but that was more than enough to execute his targets. Because of this, Jin Sa's reputation was legendary. Within the Sura Pavilion, his record was flawless. His success rate for assassinations was a perfect 100%. He had never failed a single mission, not even against high-level martial artists. With his shadow talent, his victims never even have time to scream. They don't even get the chance to realize they're being hunted. They're dead before they can even process the threat. Originally, Jin Sa wanted to stay back and control the situation from afar. He thought about sending his shadow to kill me while he watched, but he knew I was a genius martial artist, and a failure would alert the target. He couldn't risk losing that $10 million bounty. Jin Sa finally decided to strike in person to ensure a one-hit kill. He continued to wait patiently in the cafeteria. He wasn't in any rush. Patience is the most basic quality of an assassin. A few days later, my cultivation reached a breaking point. The raw power inside me was surging. My original strength was being compressed into something far greater. The air in the room grew heavy as my body was enveloped in thick energy. I felt an incredibly powerful force erupting from within. It flooded my entire body and shook the cultivation hall to its core. A massive shockwave of yuan energy blasted outward from me. The system notification chimed. I had reached the 3rd level of Hotian. I almost wanted to cry. Reaching this level of strength really wasn't easy. I burned through 60 yuan coins just to reach the 3rd level of Hotian. It's staggering, but my rate of progress is also incredibly fast. I broke through in just a few days using the visual purification technique. It's a method that is notoriously difficult to master, especially when it comes to actual cultivation. Other martial artists at my level usually take months to make this kind of leap. They can't swallow yuan coins like candy the way I do. My growth speed is honestly terrifying. Most people couldn't even imagine a situation this abnormal. It's the power of my 100-fold speed body. The energy inside me just kept surging and overflowing. It was an endless, torrential current nourishing my very soul. My yuan seeds had already increased to 3. Open attribute panel, I muttered under my breath. Name, Wang Yu. Talent, SSS rank, 100-fold speed body. Realm, 3rd heaven of Hotian. Technique, visual purification and skill creation. Combat style, basic swordsmanship. My swordsmanship power has increased by 50%. Martial arts, chamber palm. Luo cloud, F rank, entry level. Short wind, sword technique. E rank, entry level. Lumpy step, E rank, perfect level. A divine level blade, low awakening. Divine level hidden demon cloth, C rank expert, 9-layer blade. Thunder fist, C rank expert, mastery level. And soul blood, time remaining for the next copy, 1 day. The power of my blood has already reached 160, which means my strength has hit a new peak. 10,000 tons, if I use it again. The boost from Vajra Awakening and my other martial arts attacks will be insane. I can't even imagine how staggeringly strong I've become. With a divine level awakening, I estimated the numbers in my head. Roughly, it can increase my strength by 80%. My other C-rank arts are harder to cultivate and haven't progressed much. Of course, that's because I spend most of my time at school. I spend my hours absorbing yuan pills, but something caught me off guard. I didn't expect my boxing to be the first thing to reach mastery level. Is it possible that I'm just naturally suited for boxing? No way. I'm a man who lives by a different code. I should be wielding blades. Boxing? I think I'll just set that aside for now. Tomorrow, I'll be able to copy more talents. And tomorrow just happens to be the day of the martial arts exam. Later that afternoon, the new director of the SOS reached out. The #1 general school actually called the police station politely. They were looking for me, asking if I had time to participate in tomorrow's evaluation. I paused for a second. Then, I decided to go, to copy the video. To copy Sun Yan's talent, I naturally have to show up at school. Thinking about that girl, my mindset started to shift a little. No, I don't crave her body, I crave her talent. Women will only slow down my training speed. Lately, many famous dance universities have been secretly calling Guanajuato free tuition, and they even provide cultivation resources every single month. I carefully researched the top dance universities subsidized by the school. I looked into every detail. The 5th Academy of the Imperial Capital is one of them. It's a powerhouse. Then there's Shinshin Academy and the Mod Academy of Moto. Finally, Tianyuo Academy. These 4 institutions are the elite pillars of the dance faculty. They control all the resources, making them the 4 most powerful academies. Among them, the 5th Academy stands tall. It's the most famous one, but I haven't reached out yet. I haven't contacted these top-tier dance universities. If they call, I'll insist on going, but for now, I just practice for a while. I got ready to wash up and rest, excited at the thought of seeing Sun Yan tomorrow and copying her talent. The next morning, I woke up early in my villa and enjoyed a delicious breakfast. Feeling refreshed, I headed to school for the evaluation, enjoying the crisp, fresh air along the path. Suddenly, the atmosphere around me shifted. A faint, murderous aura spread through the air, and my pupils shrank. This isn't good. Whoosh! A black shadow lunged from the ground right next to the path. A cold blade flashed in the air. Chapter 28, New Talent Counterattack. I didn't hesitate. I immediately activated my S-rank Shadow Demon Martial Soul. My body moved at an incredible speed as I retreated. The assassin's blade missed me completely. Instead, it slammed into the massive tree standing right beside me. The trunk snapped and fell. Jin Sha stared at me, his eyes wide with disbelief. What kind of footwork was that? How did I dodge his sudden strike? Was he going to keep attacking? I stood my ground just a few paces away. I locked my gaze on the young man in front of me. Killing intent flared in my heart. You really think you can just take my life? Die? I activated my internal power instantly. My body was wrapped in pale gold yuan power, looking like a war god descending from the heavens. I charged straight at Jin Sha, seeing that I wasn't running, but coming right for him. A sneer curled on Jin Sha's lips. Do you really think being a genius makes you invincible? I thrust my right hand forward, a powerful palm print erupting from my grip. He countered with his dark shadow sword technique, the shadow kill. It felt like a disaster was unfolding. 3 shadows attacked me simultaneously. Boom. My falling cloud palm collided with his shadow-slaying sword technique. The clash of our powers released a violent, deafening explosion. The impact was massive, and for a moment, we seemed perfectly matched. I stumbled back several steps to regain my balance. This man was a cold-blooded assassin. I could still see the lingering traces of his shadow technique. It was erratic and completely hellish. I didn't wait for his next move and used my shadow demon footwork to retreat. The shadow assassin stared at my strange, fluid movements. He looked frustrated, realizing this $1,000,000 bounty wouldn't be easy money. He lunged at me again, betting I couldn't keep up this pace. He knew that the more powerful the martial art, the more energy it drained. In his eyes, I was just a kid at the early Hoteon stage. I had already used high-level footwork and a massive palm strike. He assumed my internal yuan power had to be hitting rock bottom. He launched another strike, relying on his own mastery of movement. His shadow demon steps were proficient, I'll give him that. But even with all that speed, the shadow assassin had a major problem. He couldn't even touch the hem of my clothes. I watched him struggle, wondering what his next desperate move would be. I was already 3 steps ahead of him. That's exactly why I've been keeping my distance this whole time. Who knows if his shadow hides toxins or some other fatal sneak attack. It's better to stay untouched by that darkness. Suddenly, a system notification chimed in my head. Congratulations, your shadow demon footwork has reached mastery. The skill had evolved right in the middle of the fight. I felt a surge of adrenaline as the system confirmed the breakthrough. My heart raced with pure excitement. My steps became even more mysterious and unpredictable than before. The shadow assassin's face twisted with pure frustration. He was probably thinking, how did he get even faster? I realized his shadow couldn't even graze me anymore, so I decided to go on the offensive. I began to condense my yuan power into a single point. A massive, overwhelming force flowed through my veins. I channeled every ounce of that energy directly into my hands. The shadow assassin saw me turn around and smirked, thinking I was making a mistake. You're seeking death, he must have thought as he raised his blade. He unleashed his dark shadow sword technique one more time. But my body was already moving with the momentum of a thunderclap. I struck with an unstoppable power, ready to crush him where he stood. I slammed my fist into the shadow assassin with everything I had. His face twisted into a mask of pure terror. He finally felt the true weight of my power, a force he couldn't escape. It was an overwhelming pressure, far too great for him to handle. Jinsa screamed as my fist closed the distance. The blow had already connected before he could even blink. His shadow blade shattered instantly under the impact. I drove my fist straight through Jinsa's chest with a sickening thud. Blood sprayed everywhere as my hand pierced right through him. I stood there, gasping for air as the adrenaline began to fade. I looked down at Jinsa, whose eyes were still wide with shock. The light had left his gaze. He was dead, and I finally felt a sense of relief. Suddenly, a notification popped up, high-level talent detected. Target is within 0 meters. Ready to copy. The system's voice echoed clearly in my mind. I let out a short, dry laugh. An S-rank talent was right there for the taking. I realized this talent must be the source of his mysterious shadow powers. I thought to myself, sorry, but your power belongs to me now. I took a deep breath and initiated the copy of the dead boy's talent. Ding, copy successful. Congratulations to the host. You have obtained the talent. S-rank, Dark Void Shadow. You can briefly merge your consciousness into the shadow while simultaneously controlling your own shadow's movements. It can operate within a 10-kilometer radius of your main body. The shadow possesses half the strength of the main body. I was ecstatic. Killing and looting? No, this was something much better. I whispered a quiet thank you to the corpse. I had to keep this new power a secret for now. This was the perfect skill for passive growth and scouting. Images of killing monsters began to flood my mind. I started imagining myself lying at home cultivating while my shadow was out there, fighting and looting on my behalf. It could explore hidden ruins and find treasures, securing rare resources without me lifting a finger. Everything would belong to me. I quickly moved to dispose of Jinsaw's body. I needed to be thorough and leave no trace behind for investigators. While searching Jinsaw's clothes, I found a few interesting items, a new currency card and a secret manual, The Art of the Shadow Blade. It was a dark, forbidden technique, an earth-level martial art, an incredibly mysterious sword technique. It can conjure multiple illusions simultaneously to deal massive damage. So that's what that guy was using just now. Not bad, I'll take it. I continued searching through Jinsaw's belongings. That's when I found a specific card. It was engraved with the character 4-3, the third elder, not Lin Xiaohu. My gaze turned cold. Aside from that old man, no one else would have the guts to send an assassin. No other fool would dare come after me like this. I originally planned to let your grandson live for a few more days, just a little more time on this earth. But since you're so eager to court death, I won't hesitate to give it to you. Don't blame me for being ruthless. I wasn't entirely sure yet if I could kill the third elder, Lin Xiaohu, in one hit. I needed to be certain of a one-strike kill. But as for Qin Xiao, he's just a useless brat who hasn't even awakened his talent yet. He would be the perfect target to start my retaliation. Without wasting another second, I finished disposing of the body. The hidden assassin's body was gone. It was 7 a.m., and the martial exam started at 9 o'clock. I had enough time to settle the score with Qin Xiao first. Then I'd head to school and play my part. I took a deep breath. After disposing of the corpse, I scrubbed away every trace of the assassin's blood from my own body. I made my way straight to the Lin family estate. Inside Qin Xiao's room, the third elder was comforting his grandson. Don't worry, I've already hired a professional killer from the Shura Hall. Wang Yu will be dead soon. Just wait for the news, Hong told him. I watched them from just outside the room. The strange thing was, there weren't any guards posted here. I stared at the empty doorway and narrowed my eyes. The third elder didn't even bother with a security detail. I've seen how the real elites live, like at the Otis Mansion. Actual powerful figures are always surrounded by guards. I originally thought I'd have to sneak in with extreme caution, but it was easier than I expected. It turns out this old man is completely defenseless in his own home. I couldn't have asked for a better opportunity. I'll finally be free once Wang Yu is dead. And I want to capture Wang Yu's sister. I want that bitch to live a life worse than death. Chun Zhao's dark voice echoed through the room. Chapter 29, Killing Chun Zhao, The Path of Enlightenment. I heard this from outside, and my heart grew cold. I'll send you to the afterlife in a moment, I thought. Hong smiled and said, grandson, don't worry. If Wang Yu is dead, his sister will be easy to handle. You can play with her however you want. Thank you, Grandpa. I'll be obedient from now on. Grandpa, I'm thirsty, Chen Xiao said with a well-behaved look on his face. Hong's expression was one of pure indulgence. His grandson was just too obedient. Stay right here. I'll go get you some tangerines, Hong said. He finished speaking and left the room. Chen Xiao watched his grandfather's hunched back. He thought about everything his grandfather had done for him. Once he became a martial god, he would. Blood sprayed while Chen Xiao was still lost in his daydream. He was dreaming of becoming a martial god, but then came the sound of spurting blood. Chen Zhao's pupils lost focus as his final thought drifted away. Grandpa, it hurts. After my shadow finished off Chen Xiao, I left Lin Shi's cabin immediately. Not long after my shadow slipped away, the door to the room slowly creaked open. Hong stepped back inside the house, carrying a bag of water and a few snacks. He had even brought some oranges for his grandson, but the thick, metallic scent of blood filled the air, making his heart skip a beat. He looked at Chen Xiao, who was already cold and lifeless. Blinding rage consumed him instantly. Hong's roar echoed through the small cabin. He collapsed over Chen Zhao's mangled body. His entire frame was shaking uncontrollably with fury. Who killed my grandson? Who is it? I'll kill you. The energy inside Hong's body began to surge violently. Boom, boom, boom. With a massive explosion of power, his cultivation level actually shattered its limits. In an instant, he reached the 9th level of the Hotian realm. But what was the point of a breakthrough now? Hong felt no joy. He didn't care about breaking through to a new realm at all. A breakthrough paid for with his grandson's life was a curse he didn't want. I watched from the shadows as Hong's mind began to spiral. He stood there, trembling with a murderous intent that chilled the air. He stared intensely at the scene of the crime, scanning every inch of the surrounding floor. There wasn't a single footprint to be found. No clues, no evidence, and not even a single sign of a struggle. It must be Wang Yu. It has to be him, Hong muttered like a madman. In his heart, he was already convinced I was the one who hired an assassin to kill his grandson. As for the possibility of me doing it personally, Hong didn't even consider it for a second. To him, I was just a weakling at the early Hotian stage. The idea of me sneaking into the cabin and killing Chen Xiao was simply impossible. Wang Yu, whether it was you or not, you must die. Hong had officially put me at the top of his hit list. He decided he would take my life just to appease his grandson's spirit in heaven. The news of Hong's sudden breakthrough didn't stay secret for long. Word spread through Lin Shi's camp alongside the news of Chen Zhao's brutal death. Everyone there knew exactly what kind of person Chen Xiao really was. He was a terrible person who just happened to have a powerful grandfather. Good riddance, I thought, and many others in the camp felt the same way. Even back at Lin Shi's cabin, Chen Zhao's reputation was trash. He used to berate and insult the servants constantly. He didn't have a shred of respect for anyone else. If it weren't for his grandfather's status, people wouldn't have tolerated his existence for a single second. Even the people within the Lin family's own circle had probably wanted to get rid of him for a long time. Meanwhile, at Jiangling High, the day of the mock exam had finally arrived. Crowds of anxious parents were already swarming the school gates. The atmosphere at Jiangling High was thick with tension. Everyone was waiting for the results of the martial arts examination. The area was completely congested with people from the Martial Arts Alliance. Security was tight everywhere you looked. I sat quietly in the back of the car as we approached the neighborhood. Chen Chuan was at the wheel of the luxury vehicle, driving us straight toward the main entrance of the elite academy. I stepped out of the car and took a look around. I was stunned by the scene. Are these parents really this intense? They aren't allowed inside, but they're still clogging the entire street in front of the gates. This whole scene felt strangely familiar. It was just like the Gaokao exams back in my previous world. Parents would crowd the entrance just like this, waiting for a miracle. But in this world, the martial arts exam is infinitely more important than any academic test. Unlike the exams from my past life, this one literally determines your entire destiny. The moment you step into a top-tier martial arts university, everything changes. The elite training and massive resources you'll receive are finally within reach. These are opportunities that common people can't even imagine. If you pass the entrance to a premier martial arts academy, you jump to a higher social class instantly. I took a deep breath and started walking toward the school gates. Holy crap, is that him? Someone shouted. I've seen his photo, the 16-year-old genius with the dual SSS rank talent. A loud exclamation erupted from the crowd, and suddenly every eye was on me. I tried to keep a low profile, but they still recognized me immediately. I heard a guy grumble, "He's talented and handsome? I don't buy it." A girl nearby whispered, "I'd give anything to be his girlfriend. He's just so hot." A 16-year-old martial saint? I'm only 8 this year. I'm just a kid, but I'll be a saint by 16 too. Do I have a shot? 100%. Wang Yu is our pride, the greatest genius in a century. No one disagrees, right? Actually, I do. He's the greatest genius in the world. Listening to the heated arguments around me, I thought, am I really that good? The world's greatest genius? It sounded like an exaggeration. But honestly, I couldn't find a single reason to disagree with them. At the school gates, a middle-aged man in casual clothes stood waiting. He had a wide, welcoming smile plastered across his face. "Hello, Principal." "Good morning, Principal." The students entering the academy grounds all bowed to him with respect. He nodded back at them, still wearing that bright, practiced grin. I finally reached the front of the line at the school entrance. I looked at the man and wondered, is this our new principal? "Hello, Principal," I said, offering a polite greeting. "Wang Yu, you're finally here. Come, I'll personally escort you to the exam." He led me straight inside, leaving the crowd of waiting students in the dust. They stood there, completely stunned by the special treatment I was getting. Wait, was the principal standing out here just to wait for Wang Yu? The envy in the air was thick enough to choke on. Inside the principal's office, he carefully prepared a fresh cup of tea. He handed it over to me, and I reached out to take it. "Wang Yu, this is 200-year-old Gudao tea," he said softly. "Give it a try. This is the good stuff. I don't usually share this with anyone," the principal added with a kind smile. I blinked, looking down at the precious offering in my hands. A faint, elegant fragrance drifted up from the cup. I didn't hesitate. I just downed the whole thing in one gulp. It tasted great, almost like juice, and I gave him a quick thumbs up. The principal's eyes nearly popped out of his head when he saw me finish it. He usually sips it slowly, terrified of missing a single drop of insight. Suddenly, a system notification flashed before my eyes. My C-rank martial skill, the 9 insects sword technique, had leveled up. It reached the domain stage, and my sword momentum hit minor mastery. My total sword power just increased by 80%. The system messages kept ringing in my head, confirming the breakthrough. An 80% power boost? That's not bad at all. Actually, it's more than not bad. This Gudao tea is incredible. It really is the good stuff, he promised. My sword momentum is finally starting to take shape. Minor mastery, great mastery, and perfection, but as for the realm beyond that, I honestly had no idea what came next. The principal looked like he was about to scold me for wasting such a rare treasure. He probably wanted to tell me that you don't just chug Gudao tea like that. But to me, it really did just taste like a cup of juice. Did he realize that the single cup I just finished was worth more than a lifetime supply of regular drinks? Suddenly, a surge of spiritual saber force erupted from deep within my body. The air around me began to vibrate, as if the very space was about to tear apart. The raw power of my saber momentum was leaking out uncontrollably. A tyrannical pressure radiated from me, making even the principal, an innate master, flinch. He felt a genuine trace of oppression coming from a student. His face twisted in shock as he muttered, "Saber force? How is this possible?" He couldn't wrap his head around a mere martial artist grasping saber force. The principal stared at me like he was looking at a literal monster. Was I really just a genius, or was I something far more dangerous? Slowly, I pulled the saber force back into my body and returned to normal. The principal stammered, "Wang Yu, was that really you using that force?" He took a long, shaky breath to steady his nerves. He just kept staring at me, trying to process what he had just witnessed. I simply nodded at his look of pure disbelief. "That's right," I said. "It is indeed saber force." He stared at me like I was a freak of nature. To him, I was becoming something far too terrifying to comprehend. Even as an innate martial master, he hadn't yet fully grasped the true essence of martial force. Martial force comes in many forms: sword force, saber force, and countless others. It usually takes a lifetime of combat for these powers to manifest. Only those with a profound understanding of martial arts can master them. Looking at the teenager before him, who already wielded saber force, the principal felt like a giant wave had crushed his pride. He mentioned that the upcoming exam would involve fierce beasts in a secret realm. "You'll see it for yourself soon," he added, his voice trailing off. Originally, the principal wanted to ask me if I was confident about taking the #1 spot. But after seeing the saber force radiating from my body, taking first place seemed like a total piece of cake. The principal just kept staring at me in silence for a long moment. Finally, he dismissed me and told me I could go. After I walked out, he looked down at the empty teacup and sighed. He stared at the cup I had just finished and fell into deep thought. Was Wu Dao tea actually meant to be gulped down the way I did it? The principal's eyes lit up as he carefully pulled a small tin from his desk. He pulled out a single, precious leaf of Wu Dao tea and brewed it instantly. Following my lead, he downed the entire cup in one aggressive gulp. "It really does taste just like juice," he muttered, licking his lips. But he waited, and nothing happened. Why was there no reaction? He stood there stunned, realizing he had just wasted his precious tea for nothing. Meanwhile, I had already made it back home and settled in. I took a deep breath and called up my status window. I wanted to see exactly how much I had grown. My talent, SSS rank, Dark Void Shadow. My constitution, divine speed body. My realm, postnatal third heaven. My cultivation art, the way of humanity. Then I checked my combat skills and mastery levels. My saber force had already increased by 80%. I looked at my martial arts, the Lua Palm, and my saber techniques. Everything was reaching a terrifying new level of power. Finally, I glanced at my ultimate skill, Divine Domain Saber Technique. Level 1, Divine Domain, Misty Step. It was a lot to take in. Level 1, Perfection, Unique Celestial Slash. Level 1, Divine Domain, Bagra Art. Level 1, Divine Domain, Hidden Demon Step. C-Rank Mastery, Ninefold Sword Technique. Galloping Thunder Fist, Level 18. C-Rank Mastery, Soul Aperture Eye. My soul was stronger than ever. I checked the remaining time for my next ability. Skill copy, 30 days left. I stared at my attribute panel for a long moment. A wave of relief washed over me. My minor sword domain was finally established. The same went for my other martial arts. Even my C-Rank skills were fully optimized for combat. Everything had reached the level of absolute mastery. Now, dealing with ordinary warriors should be a walk in the park, right? I remembered when my life was a complete disaster. But now, even my soul attribute had reached its peak. My soul attribute hit 2.0 points. This happened right after I copied Jinsaw's talent. I had been searching for a way to boost my soul power. Usually, you have to wait until you're a grandmaster to even have a chance, or you have to spend years cultivating. You need profound martial arts specifically designed to train the soul. But there's a catch. Soul training techniques are ridiculously expensive. They're S-rank at minimum, usually requiring a one-use implant. There was no way I could afford those, but with my soul at 2.0, everything changed. My perception sharpened, and my control over my own body reached a whole new level. I moved with light steps toward the campus evaluation center. Students everywhere stopped to stare at me with pure envy. I could feel their eyes following my every move. My performance during the Heavenly Dance Club trials had been far too brilliant. If you grabbed a random person on the street and asked them a question, they might not even know who the governor of Jiangling is. But they definitely knew who I was. Wang Yu, the 16-year-old prodigy. The boy who had changed his entire destiny. I was the talk of the town. The biggest name in all of Jiangling City. Even with everything going on, my rise was the only thing people cared about. On a national level, a talent like mine is one of a kind. Classmate Wang Yu, could you please help me? I really need your autograph. I was just trying to walk peacefully across the campus. But then that timid voice called out from the side. A shiver ran down my spine as I remembered asking Li Qian for an autograph. That was only a month ago, but everything felt different now. The way she went cold, that terrifying scene still haunts my mind. I couldn't do it. Not right now. I wasn't ready to deal with that kind of attention in my life yet. Sorry, I hurt my hand, and I can't sign anything right now. As soon as the words left my mouth, I took off running. The girl was left standing there, completely speechless. She stayed frozen in place, staring at my back. I was moving so fast I was practically a blur. Wang Yu hurt his hand? She whispered, catching on to that one keyword. In an instant, the news that I was injured spread like wildfire through the school gates. The rumor mill started churning through the entire school. They were saying I had mangled my hand from overtraining. The story grew until they were calling me a martyr for the martial arts. Word spread that I had completely shattered my bones. Before long, every single student at Jiangling First High knew about it. They were debating if I'd broken it during the mock exam. Is this what it means to be a genius? The speed of these rumors was honestly terrifying. It was like they were all waiting for me to break down and cry. All because of that one mock exam. I stood on the playground, listening to them whisper while I stared at my hand. I didn't even know I was injured until they made it up for me. Finally, the clock struck 9. The principal walked out with a heavy look of concern. His eyes were fixed on me as he moved slowly. He stepped up onto the courtyard platform. The teachers gathered behind him, waiting for the big announcement. The location for this year's final combat evaluation had been decided. We were being sent into the secret realm of ferocious beasts. The principal warned us that these monsters were ruthless and bloodthirsty. Up on the podium, Chapter 31 began. The martial exam starts now. The principal's voice boomed across the entire campus. The whole school was buzzing with a frantic, boiling energy. We were actually entering the secret realm of ferocious beasts for our evaluation. The difficulty level was insane, way higher than anything we'd faced before. I heard someone gasp, the secret realm of ferocious beasts? This is way too exciting, another shouted. Yeah, no kidding. I used to follow my uncle into the wilderness to hunt beasts, one kid bragged. Just thinking about those battles gets my blood pumping. You've actually been to the wilderness? You're incredible, man. I stood there, listening to the chatter erupting all around me. I couldn't help but mutter under my breath. I felt like I was standing in a room full of overexcited elementary schoolers. I listened to them with pure boredom until a striking figure caught my eye. She looked incredibly pure, standing not too far away. She wore a white t-shirt and a matching white skirt, her face perfectly sculpted. It was as if she had absorbed all the spiritual energy of heaven and earth for herself. Her hair was pulled back into a neat, sharp ponytail. Her skin was pale and delicate, giving her a distant, untouchable aura. She looked so divine that it felt like a sin to even look at her. Dozens of my classmates were staring at her like she was the center of the universe. It was her, my classmate, Su Yinyan. I blinked, thinking, she looks even more beautiful than the last time I saw her. I scanned Su Yinyan's elegant, perfectly toned figure. She radiated an aura of pure, vibrant youth. Every movement she made felt graceful and deliberate. She had this calm, temple-like stillness about her. She felt distant, untouchable, like a goddess looking down from a high mountain peak. Even standing right there, she felt miles away from my world. Suddenly, Su Yinyan turned her head and caught me staring. I didn't look away, and for a second, our eyes locked. A faint, subtle smile played across her lips. That tiny curve of her mouth was easily the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. This woman is absolutely radiant. I took a deep breath and thought, she's way too dangerous. I have to find a way to win her over and conquer that heart of hers. I can't let a girl this distracting ruin the focus of my other classmates. I made a silent vow right then and there. Up on the podium, the principal was still droning on about the exam details. Every student in the country would be entering the exact same secret realm. Slaying the fierce beasts inside was the only way to climb the ranks. The leaderboard would be determined entirely by points. Pure, hard-earned points. Those numbers would decide our final grades and our entire future after this exam. But it wasn't just about the score. Our actual performance in the realm mattered too. Everything happening inside would be broadcast in real time for the world to see. The beasts waiting for us were all first-level threats, and even the weakest ones required a decisive finishing blow to secure the kill. Assisting in a hunt wouldn't grant any points at all. We weren't allowed to steal points directly, but we could use force to drive others away. Murdering a fellow student was strictly forbidden and carried a death sentence of a penalty. After exactly 3 hours, everyone would be automatically warped out of the zone. Suddenly, a massive magic circle erupted above the podium, glowing with strange, brilliant colors. I snapped out of my thoughts and locked my eyes on the stage. That was the teleportation array, the gate that would send us straight into the beast realm. Listen up, your ID badges will record every single point you earn. The badge tracks every beast you slay, but it also has a built-in emergency switch. If you're in danger and need to escape, just press it to warp out immediately, the principal continued. He stood tall on the podium, explaining that the badge could also monitor our life signals. If the device detected that I was unconscious or physically unable to continue, it would trigger an automatic teleportation to save my life. I looked toward the edge of the courtyard and saw the staff stations. Dozens of exchange workers were busy handing out the official badges to every student. All around me, the other teenagers were gripping their devices with white knuckles. They held those badges like they were lifelines. Every eye in the crowd was fixed nervously on the glowing magic circle above the stage. Was the rookie massacre finally about to begin? I tightened my own grip, staring up at the sky as the path to my invincibility opened up. Suddenly, the principal vanished behind a thick plume of rising smoke. The magic circle began to rotate, expanding until its brilliant light swallowed every single one of us. Whoosh! As the light surged outward, the crowd in the courtyard began to blur. In an instant, everyone vanished at once, and I felt my body being pulled into the void. A piercing, freezing wind whipped against my skin as I tumbled through the chaos. Then, a blinding flash of light erupted right in front of my eyes. I braced myself. This was it. A violent, bloodthirsty roar echoed from the distance, welcoming me to the realm. My body drifted down, landing slowly in the heart of a dense forest. Towering trees and thick vegetation stretched out in every direction. I could hear the constant, low rustling of the bushes all around me. A strange, heavy feeling hung in the air. The noisy atmosphere of the academy was gone, replaced by a chilling silence. I noticed several other students nearby wearing uniforms from different schools. None of them were from my academy. It seems the teleportation was more chaotic than I thought. It was a random spawn, and though everyone stayed quiet, I saw the predatory looks in their eyes. I was about to head out when a voice stopped me in my tracks. "What school are you from? You look familiar," a student called out. A tall guy stepped toward me, blocking my path. The moment he spoke, I felt a sharp wave of hostility radiating from him. I thought to myself, is he really trying to take me out already? I knew the rules. If I got eliminated now, I'd leave with 0 points. In this exam, the beasts weren't the only threat. I had to watch my back for other students too. After all, in this place, everyone is a competitor. "What's the plan? You looking to eliminate me?" I asked coldly. I arched an eyebrow, waiting for his move. I gave the tall student a meaningful look, and he let out a dry chuckle. He took another step forward and spoke. "Are you going to leave on your own, or do I have to make you?" "First, let me be clear. I'm at the 7th stage of body refinement." He was trying to intimidate me with his rank, but I wasn't impressed. Before the tall student could even finish his sentence, I moved, my hand blurring as I delivered a sharp slap to his face. The force sent him spinning through the air instantly. He slammed hard into a thick tree trunk in the distance. He was knocked out cold, and a golden light immediately enveloped his body. The safety mechanism triggered, teleporting him straight out of the exam. "Do you guys want to try sending me away too?" I asked the others standing nearby. The remaining students stared at me with pure horror in their eyes. I could see the gears turning in their heads. How did I take down a 7th-stage warrior? One slap was all it took to break a high-level martial artist. A guy like that had the strength to get into a top-tier academy, and I had eliminated him like he was nothing. "We don't want any trouble, man. Please, go right ahead. I have things to do. I'm leaving first," one of them stammered. He didn't wait for an answer before turning tail and sprinting away. As soon as he bolted, the rest of the group scattered into the woods. They all scrambled away, shouting different excuses as they ran. I watched them disappear into the brush without the slightest intention of stopping them. There was no point in chasing down people who weren't even a threat to me. Besides, I had more important things to focus on, like racking up points. Back at the monitoring station, the director of Tionin High School No. 1 was glued to the screen. "I want every single piece of data on that kid," the director barked. He couldn't take his eyes off me, staring at my image with intense focus. "Sir, that's Wang Yu from Jiangling City," an assistant standing beside him whispered. The director froze, looking completely stunned by the news. "Wang Yu isn't even a registered martial artist yet, is he? How is he in this exam?" "He's still a student at Jiangling High School No. 1, sir," the assistant confirmed. The director shook his head, finding the whole situation utterly absurd. This exam was meant for students still in the body refinement stage. "I need to report this immediately," the director muttered under his breath. Meanwhile, back inside the secret realm, I was busy hunting down fierce beasts. It didn't take long for me to track down a large pack of them nearby. They were everywhere, but I handled every single one of them with ease. I didn't waste any energy on flashy moves or complicated techniques. My style was simple. I walked up to a beast and ended it with a single punch. Not a single creature could withstand my strike, and after half an hour, I was still moving. My point total had already climbed to 500. I had personally slaughtered 500 fierce beasts across the secret realm's jungles. Monsters were hiding everywhere, from the open plains to the deep valleys. But I wasn't in any rush to find them. I took my time, strolling through the area as if it were the Jiangling High School playground. Back at the school, the director of Jiangling High School No. 1 was watching. He kept his eyes glued to the monitor, tracking my every move. He watched as I navigated the dangers of the secret realm with ease. It was like I was on a casual walk rather than a life-or-death exam. He noticed that I didn't seem hurried at all, despite the fierce beasts surrounding me. My performance was unlike anything he had ever seen from a student. The director calculated that my points should have reached a massive milestone by now. "He's already surpassed the others, hasn't he?" The director muttered the question to himself in disbelief. A moment later, the official rankings updated on the main screen. The points leaderboard appeared at the top of the playground display for everyone to see. The names of the top students from every high school flickered into view. Rank 1, Jiangling No. 1, Wang Yu. Points, 500. Rank 2, Imperial High School No. 1, Xinhua. Points, 48. Rank 3, Moto High School No. 1, Lanlin. The director stared at the leaderboard rankings on the massive display. A grin spread from ear to ear as he saw my score hit 500 points. The student in second place hadn't even reached 50 yet. I was leading the pack by more than 10 times the score of my closest rival. My classmate, Su Wenjun, wasn't doing too badly either. She had already managed to rack up a solid score. She was sitting at 20 points. The director scanned the list until he found Su Wenjun's name. She was currently ranked 29th in the nation. The director felt a surge of pride swelling in his chest. He was ecstatic to see 2 students from our local school performing at this level. Having 2 names in the national top 50 was an unprecedented achievement. The communication systems were already buzzing with the news of our success. And on top of that, we held the absolute number 1 spot. Who could have imagined such a historic moment for our city? In all the previous simulations at Jiangling High School No. 1, the results had never even come close to this level of dominance. This was the greatest moment in the history of our high school. Nothing like this had ever happened in the entire Jiangling region. It was more than just being in the top 100 among so many invisible competitors. Out of every high school in the country, I had truly made a name for myself. The director's face was practically glowing with a permanent grin. I was in first place, laughing in the face of the elite schools from the imperial capital. The prestigious high school No. 1 was being left in the dust. I had the top schools of Modu pinned right under my feet. It couldn't have happened at a better time. The moment the official point leaderboard was published, every high school in the nation went absolutely ballistic. In these simulations, those 2 elite schools always fought for the top spot, while others fought for third. So where the hell did this new first place come from? Jiangling High School No. 1 was leading by 500 points, gapping the imperial capital's best. The directors of the other top schools could only stare with their eyes wide open in shock. My 500 points were so bright they practically blinded them. The director of Imperial Capital High No. 1 immediately called the authorities to file a complaint. He claimed these 500 points were a total impossibility. He demanded an investigation into the score immediately. But the response was cold. There were no modifiers or cheats used. Every single piece of data from my run was perfectly normal. The system was flawless, and my lead was undeniable. The exam data was crystal clear. Everything about my performance was consistent with total dominance. I was completely taking over. The administration at the elite high schools was losing it, especially the director of Imperial Capital High No. 1. "Normal," he barked. "You're telling me this level of destruction is normal?" Just as the school director was losing his mind, the rankings for the top high school in the race shifted again. While the imperial capital was busy complaining, my points surged. In just 10 minutes, I racked up another 100 points, hitting 600 total. The director of imperial capital, high number 1, froze. He watched my score climb with a face so dark it looked like a storm cloud. Meanwhile, in a high-level government department, a man with a stern expression sat in the shadows. He stared at the screen, watching me slaughter everything in my path. I took down a high-level fierce beast like it was nothing. Then, I just kept moving south toward my next target. "This kid is making it look too easy," the man muttered. "Like he's killing chickens. Could he really be a genius with dual divine martial talents? Incredible." A flood of calls from school directors started pouring in. They were all claiming my results had to be fake. They demanded a full-scale investigation into my performance. A cold snort echoed through the room. "A bunch of useless losers. Fake my ass." The man huffed, clearly annoyed. "Is it really that hard for them to admit a kid is better than them? You think you're so excellent? Really? You're getting old, and you're still acting like this. Sitting here like a bunch of elementary students. Just put out the announcement already." He couldn't believe how incredible my talent actually was. It was as if I had been cultivated by the legendary Xiangling herself. The man from the capital high number 1 administration let out another cold, frustrated snort. 16 years old, a genius with dual divine martial talents. Is this even legal? The director stared at the data on his phone, his eyes nearly popping out of his head. He had heard vague rumors about a prodigy before, but seeing it in person felt like a bad joke. Aside from the sheer absurdity of it, there was simply no way to stop a freak of nature like me. He looked back at the leaderboard and saw I had already crossed the 1,000-point mark. It wasn't just the director of the Capital High who looked like he'd seen a ghost, but every other school director watching the feed. The other directors fell silent too. There was simply no way to deny it. "He's a freak," the director of Jiangling High muttered, staring at his phone. The commentators were singing my praises, especially those lucky enough to see the footage. Let's see who dares call Jiangling High a second-rate school now. That bottom-tier school was about to become a top-tier powerhouse because of me. But some people still weren't convinced. Just look at the rankings. Who was sitting at number 1? Wang Yu, obviously. I had no idea what kind of chaos was happening in the outside world at that very moment. I was still just wandering around, hunting down fierce beasts and slaughtering monsters. I dropped 2 of them with a single strike while I took my time exploring. While I searched the area, a group of students in matching uniforms gathered in a nearby canyon. They weren't looking for monsters, they were hunting other students. These thugs from Zhongsong High were led by a student named Lai. Lai had a specialized talent that allowed him to sense the location of anyone nearby. He used that power to pull his crew together into a massive hunting party. In just 30 minutes, they were moving through the secret realm as a single unit. Whenever they found students from other schools, they eliminated them instantly. Lai and his pack of hunters were now closing in on the center of the zone. They had already eliminated dozens of students through sheer teamwork, racking up massive points. Lai and his crew kept moving, eyes peeled for their next target. "Lai, my talent just picked someone up nearby," one of them called out. "He's all alone over there. Let's go take him out." In Lai's squad, a student whose eyes glowed with a strange light pointed toward the distance. He spoke with a cold, predatory confidence. "Just one person? That feels like a waste of our effort. We should be spending our time hunting bigger groups. Are you sure there aren't any other students around?" Lai asked, his voice trailing off as he scanned the horizon. He seemed hesitant to commit his entire team to a single kill. The evaluation had been running for nearly an hour already. The rankings were still a complete mystery to them, and there weren't many targets left in this sector. Chapter 33. Eliminating every single student they found was taking too long. Gathering his classmates into one spot had already eaten up their clock. They didn't have much time left before the first phase ended. They needed to pivot back to killing fierce beasts to stay ahead. But there wasn't a single beast left alive in this part of the world. I watched as they decided to hunt down the remaining students. Then, the entire group began sprinting directly toward me. Back at the number 1 high school playground, Zonson, the school principal, stood watching the monitors. He was focused entirely on the Sector 1 feed. His eyes were glued to the massive screen. When he saw the direction Lai and his team were heading, his heart skipped a beat. What on earth are these kids trying to do? He had been satisfied with how the university-bound team was performing. They were full of drive and ambition. They were putting in the work and using their numbers to their advantage. The strength of a large group was their greatest weapon. They were supposed to be eliminating the competition, taking out opponents, and clearing the area of monsters. If they had just kept going at that pace, they might not have hit the top 4 schools, but they would have been safe. Getting into a key university would have been no problem at all. But now, they were looking for trouble with Wang Yu. It was like walking into a dark room looking for a fight, pure suicide. The principal and the teachers beside him watched Lai's team with growing dread. The principal's eyelids twitched violently as he checked my current score. I had already reached 1,200 points, more than their entire group combined. He watched in despair as his students provoked a demon they couldn't possibly defeat. I stood my ground, watching the crowd of students in identical uniforms close in. It was the first time I'd seen such a large group banded together in the wild. Lai's eyes were cold, but I wondered if I hadn't made myself clear enough yet. I didn't even bother looking up at them as they surrounded me. These people clearly had no idea how much trouble they were actually in. Lai signaled to a student named Yuan Hong to take 2 others and handle me. He didn't think he needed to step in personally for a single opponent. He expected me to just give up and surrender my points without a fight. Several students stepped forward, eyeing me with nothing but malice. One of them sneered, "Kid, since you're so hell-bent on seeking death, don't blame us for being rude." Yuan Hong introduced himself while his eyes filled with a murderous chill. He tightened his fists, preparing to launch his first strike at me. I didn't listen to a word they said. I just blurred forward instantly. 3 sharp cracks echoed through the air in rapid succession. I slapped Yuan Hong and his 2 lackeys so hard they were teleported out of the realm midair. Lai's face turned pale as he realized he had no idea who he was dealing with. Yuan Hong's strength was no joke. He was a 6th-level body-tempering expert with top-tier defensive talent. This kid might actually be the best they have. A true super genius. The pride of school number 1. But he was gone in one move. I casually rubbed my elbow. Inside, I thought, that Yuan Hong has some thick skin. It almost hurt my hand. Luckily, my soul power has reached the 2nd level, allowing me to control my output. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to keep my body in the right position during the strike. One full-strength slap from me, and they'd be dead, not just eliminated. We made a mistake. Let's go, Lai said, a trace of sudden decisiveness flashing in his eyes. But his teammates weren't ready to back down so easily. Anger twisted their faces as they shouted, "We're leaving just like that? He took out 3 of us." I looked at them coldly and said, "I think you're mistaken. Either you leave this secret realm on your own, or I send you out myself." I spoke with total indifference, as if I were stating the most obvious fact in the world. Lai and the others stood frozen, their faces darkening with every passing second. The idea of a group of dozens being forced out by one person was beyond ridiculous to them. "Do you really think you're invincible just because you took out a few people in seconds?" one yelled. "There are dozens of us. We can beat him to death. Our goal shouldn't be elimination. It should be racking up points." But Lai realized I had a very different plan. I wanted to wipe them all out right now. I wasn't even treating them like real opponents. If that's how it's going to be, then let's fight. There's no way one person can take down dozens of us at once. Lai barked. He spoke with a cold, desperate edge to his voice. The moment those words left his mouth, the students charged. They swarmed toward me like a desperate tide. I watched the crowd closing in, my expression remaining completely calm. I didn't feel a single shred of pity as I prepared to strike. I simply loosened my fists and let my shoulders drop. Bam, bam, bam. I didn't even need high-level movement techniques to evade them. I shifted my weight slightly, letting every desperate attack whistle past my skin. Then I started swinging, sending Lai's teammates flying out of the realm one by one. Deep despair began to bleed into Lai's eyes as he watched his army crumble. They couldn't even graze my clothes before they were forcefully eliminated. One casual strike was all it took to send each of them packing. I kept my movements light and effortless, ending the fight before it even truly began. It was as if I was afraid to use too much force, like I was holding back just so I wouldn't accidentally kill them. Lai felt a wave of pure humiliation wash over him. He had never fought a battle like this where the opponent barely noticed him. I looked just like any other student, but my mental strength was on another level. My power was terrifying, making his entire group look like a pathetic joke. After a short while, the battlefield cleared and the dust finally settled. Lai stood there all alone, trembling as he gasped, Who are you?" His eyes were bloodshot, staring at me with a mix of rage and terror. "You aren't qualified to know that," I replied coldly. I didn't give him another second. I stepped forward and launched a direct punch. Lai's body went flying backward, instantly wrapped in golden light as he was ejected. I looked at the empty space where his army once stood and let out a long yawn. I had hoped these people would at least make my blood pump a little faster. But it was a total letdown. None of them could even make me break a sweat. How boring, I thought to myself, feeling a sense of profound disappointment. Crushing these weaklings felt no different than stepping on dry leaves. I stretched my arms and continued deeper into the secret realm. It was time to find the real targets I was looking for. Meanwhile, back in the observation hall, Principal Zhongshan and Gaskell had turned pale. At that moment, Lai felt like he was staring death in the face. He had gathered almost the entire elite force of Zhongshan School, but I had wiped them all out, leaving their school rankings in the gutter. The school officials were drowning in disappointment at my lack of mercy. The principal of Zhongshan School cursed me under his breath in secret. He couldn't believe a student my age could be this monstrous. Meanwhile, on the other side of the secret realm, there was a jagged stone cave. A beautiful young woman stood there, wearing a simple white shirt. Dressed in a white skirt, she faced down 3 ferocious beasts alone. The girl's face was flushed red from the intensity of the fight. She was barely holding her ground. She gripped a long sword tightly in her hand. The ground beneath her feet began to tremble slightly. The air around her grew heavy as her breathing became ragged. Her body was already reaching its absolute limit. Her internal energy was becoming chaotic and unstable. The beasts sensed her weakness and prepared to close in for the kill. They launched a coordinated strike, but she bit her lip and refused to back down. She tightened her grip and swung the long sword with everything she had left. The blade flashed forward at an extreme speed, glowing with a sharp light. It was some kind of special power, and it even emitted a low, vibrating hum from the blade. One of the beasts let out a sharp cry. It released a pained, guttural groan. The sound was agonizing. The ferocious beast stood frozen right in front of her. The sharp sword in her hand pierced straight through its chest. It lost its life instantly. There were only two left now. The remaining beasts stared at the fallen one. They looked at their slaughtered companion in shock. They turned towards Su Yinyan, watching her with a hint of fear. A little bit of fear? How pathetic. So this was the power of Su Yinyan, the pride of the Su family from Jiangsu City. Do you need your brother to come and help you? Just as Su Yinyan was facing down the beasts, suddenly, a harsh, grating voice echoed from the distance. Su Yinyan didn't say a word. She just pressed her lips together. She tightened her grip and thrust the long sword forward again. I watched her swing that long sword again with blinding speed. The blade flashed through the air. She aimed for the monsters and launched her final assault. Two sharp, whistling sounds cut through the silence. They were intense and piercing. Su Yinyan's blade tore through the last two beasts, snuffing out their lives instantly. Her face went pale as the constant drain on her energy finally took its toll. Despite her exhaustion, she stood tall and firm in the middle of the valley. Truly incredible. An S-rank talent doesn't disappoint, but you're running on empty now. That grating voice rang out again, mocking her state. Su Yinyan frowned and slowly turned her head toward the sound. A burly young man in a school uniform stepped out of the shadows. He was staring at her with a predatory intensity. Wang Sua, what do you think you're doing? I muttered, watching him. Su Yinyan stood her ground. Her breathing was heavy. I could see her body trembling slightly from the strain. The tension in the air was thick enough to choke on. What do I want? I know exactly what you want, but I'm not sure I'll let you have it. You're desperate to get into one of the 4 famous universities, aren't you? If I eliminate you right here and now, do you really think you'll still have a chance? Wang Sua's eyes flashed with a sudden, chilling coldness. He spoke with a voice like ice as a freezing wind swept through the area. His words echoed relentlessly through the valley. The wind whipped against Su Yinyan, her white skirt fluttering like a masterpiece in the desolate landscape. She looked like a refined beauty standing amidst a graveyard of monsters. Even exhausted, she possessed an ethereal, untouchable grace. Su Yinyan took a shallow, ragged breath and looked him in the eye. The people of the Wang family from the imperial capital clearly lack any sense of dignity. Just because I rejected your gift doesn't mean you can act this entitled. Wang Sua's face twisted in rage at her sharp words. His gaze turned icy as he remembered meeting her during her trip to the capital. He had been instantly obsessed, viewing her as some kind of fallen angel. Once he learned she was an S-rank talent, his desire for her reached a breaking point. He was determined to have her by any means necessary. But Su Yinyan had ignored him completely, repeatedly crushing his advances. As the son of the powerful Wang clan, he felt humiliated having to beg a woman. To him, an S-rank talent meant nothing if they hadn't survived long enough to grow. He's a total waste. I watched Wang Sua glare coldly at Su Yinyan. The more she pushed him away, the more he couldn't stand it. He was obsessed with possessing her. The more she resisted, the more he wanted to break her. He had hoped to find her during the trial, while she was at her weakest. As long as you're willing to be my woman, he said, I can help you rack up points in this assessment. I'll make sure you get into one of the big ones. Any of the 4 legendary universities you want. I'll give you every resource, every connection, every advantage. Cultivation techniques, secret arts, everything is yours, no strings attached. That was the best offer he could possibly make. But if she still refused, he was ready to use force. Get lost. Su Yinyan's red lips parted as she spat the words out. She looked at him with pure ice and said, I know your brother passed the trial. I know he became a provisional member of the Tianhua Association a few days ago. But that's all he is, a provisional member. Do you really think that makes you untouchable? She wasn't done with him yet. She kept talking, her voice cutting through the air. It's actually quite common for a provisional member to die while they're out performing their duties, maybe even on their very first mission. I watched Su Yinyan clench her fists, her gaze burning with hatred for the man. She ground her teeth and hissed, Are you threatening me? Wang Sua was clearly using her brother's life as leverage, and he didn't care who knew it. He flashed a cruel smile and said, Just become my woman, and all your problems vanish. Su Yinyan took a deep breath and pointed her long sword directly at his throat. Even if she had to forfeit the assessment, she was going to teach this bastard a lesson. I saw Wang Sua's face darken when he realized she wasn't backing down. You still think you can resist me? He sneered. Fine, I'll make sure you're left with nothing but despair. Suddenly, a violent and oppressive aura began to leak from his body. The ground shook as his power exploded. He was at the 9th heaven of body tempering. Su Yinyan's eyes widened in pure shock. How was it possible for Wang Sua to reach the 9th heaven so quickly? The terrifying pressure continued to radiate from him, crushing the air around us. She remembered clearly that the last time they met, he was nowhere near this level. Just a short while ago, he was still struggling to keep up. He was only at the 3rd heaven of body tempering before. But now, out of nowhere, he had suddenly reached the 9th heaven. He had jumped 6 levels in a row. How was that even possible? Su Yinyan knew Wang Sua's talent was nothing more than ordinary. Even if he ate body tempering pills like they were candy, with trash talent like his, it should have been useless. My father invited 10 great masters to infuse me with their energy, Wang Sua bragged. If we hadn't run out of time, I would be at the 10th heaven by now. He looked at her and sneered. So, do you still think you can resist me? He saw the shock written all over Su Yinyan's face, and he loved every second of it. Su Yinyan furrowed her brow, feeling the gap between them. She was still too weak compared to him. My image suddenly flashed through her mind as she stood there, speechless. A sense of helplessness began to spread through her heart. Was this the true power and foundation of a top-tier wealthy family? I knew forcing energy like that would wreck his cultivation foundation. But for a shot at the top martial arts schools, many would make that sacrifice. It seemed like there was no hope left for her this time. Her dreams of the 4 great universities were slipping away. Just like that, Su Yinyan gripped the token in her hand until her knuckles turned white. Wang Suo stared at her with a look of hungry obsession. A woman this perfect. He was certain she would belong to him as he slowly closed the gap.